Onyx Storm by Rebecca-Yarros. Read by Naya. Prologue: Shadows and Secrets. The story opens with Violet navigating the dark tunnels beneath the quadrant, chasing after Xaden, whose mysterious intentions remain veiled in secrecy. The bond between their dragons offers faint guidance, but the deep shadows and Xaden's stealth make him nearly impossible to track. Violet's fears intensify, not only for Xaden's safety, but for the potential consequences of his actions, as his strawberry red irises remain a visible sign of danger to anyone who might catch a glimpse. As Violet moves through the tunnels, her thoughts drift to the earlier battle which had shaken the foundations of Basyath and left many, including their dragons, seething with anger and sorrow. Xaden's demeanor since then has been a mix of guarded and determined, making it hard for Violet to decipher his motivations. Despite her apprehension, she cannot shake the feeling that whatever Xaden is doing now might risk not only his life but also the fragile peace they fought to secure. The vivid descriptions of the night's chill and the ominous setting mirror Violet's inner turmoil. The unexpected snowfall transforms the once familiar terrain into an alien and treacherous expanse, echoing the uncertainty of their situation. Violet's attempts to communicate with their dragons prove fruitless, as even Tairn and Andarna seem consumed by their own turmoil. The storm outside becomes a metaphor for the chaos brewing within their ranks. Violet's determination to catch up to Xaden grows as her suspicions deepen. She knows that his bond with Scale and his responsibility as a leader might drive him to dangerous decisions. Her memories of their shared battles and sacrifices resurface, reminding her of what's at stake. The chapter foreshadows the challenges ahead, emphasizing themes of loyalty, trust, and the burdens of leadership. The pacing builds tension as Violet finally catches a faint sign of Xaden's trail, a series of disappearing mage lights. This detail hints at his mastery of stealth and the deliberate nature of his actions. The narrative leaves readers with a sense of urgency as Violet closes in on him, preparing to confront whatever secrets he's been harboring. In this gripping prologue, Rebecca-Yarros expertly sets the stage for a story brimming with intrigue, danger, and emotional depth. The stakes are established, the characters' vulnerabilities are exposed, and the reader is left eager to uncover the mysteries surrounding Xaden's actions and their implications for the realm. Chapter 1: A Bitter Winter Patrol. 2 weeks after the prologue's events, Violet finds herself flying through a brutal January storm during a patrol near Basyath. The icy winds and blinding snow test her resilience as she navigates the dangerous skies alongside her dragon, Tairn. The storm mirrors the turbulence within Violet's life as she reflects on recent battles and the fragile peace negotiations happening on campus. Her internal dialogue reveals her weariness, but also her determination to uphold her responsibilities, despite the lingering grief over her mother's death. The camaraderie between Violet and her dragons, Tairn and Andarna, provides both levity and tension. Andarna expresses her frustration at being left out of patrols, while Tairn insists on prioritizing safety over practice. Their banter highlights their unique dynamic and adds depth to their bond, emphasizing the stakes of every flight in the treacherous skies. Meanwhile, Violet's resolve to protect those she loves remains unshaken, even as she balances her dragon's differing opinions. As the patrol continues, Violet's thoughts wander to the negotiations on campus, where a tenuous peace is being brokered with Poromiel. The fragile alliance weighs heavily on her, knowing that failure would bring devastation to countless lives. Despite the pressing political climate, Violet maintains her focus on the immediate task of hunting any remaining dark wielders who might threaten their safety. The harsh environment amplifies the difficulty of their mission, testing both their physical and mental endurance. A harrowing moment arises when Rudok and his dragon, Awatrom, nearly collide with Tairn mid-Troit, throwing their formation into chaos. Tairn's anger at the mishap leads to a tense confrontation, showcasing the precarious nature of trust and teamwork among the riders. Violet, ever the mediator, diffuses the situation, but not without questioning the long-term stability of their group dynamics. The incident serves as a reminder of how high the stakes are for even the smallest mistakes. Upon returning to the flight field, the squad reflects on the quiet patrol, which some view as a sign of success, while others fear it indicates the enemy's growing cunning. The scene shifts to the riders' quadrant, where tensions between the Navarian and Eritan riders are palpable. Violet observes the fractured relationships and underlying distrust among the factions, further complicating their efforts to maintain unity against external threats. The chapter concludes with Violet preparing for a high-stakes meeting with the Cenarium, the governing council. Her nerves are tempered by her unwavering determination to secure a future for her people. As the weight of leadership presses down on her, Violet's resilience shines through, setting the stage for the difficult decisions she will face in the chapters to come. Chapter 2: Intruders Within the Walls. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad responding to an alarming scream from within the infirmary. A frantic infantry cadet stumbles in, marked by the telltale gray handprint of a venin. His desperate warning reveals the unthinkable. Dark wielders have infiltrated Basgiath. Violet, Rhydock, and Rhiannon spring into action, taking charge amidst the chaos. Their instincts sharpen as they move through the corridors, readying themselves to face an unseen threat that has already claimed multiple lives. The tension escalates as the group navigates the tunnel leading to the healer quadrant. Every shadow and sound keeps them on edge as they uncover the horrific aftermath of the venin's feeding frenzy. The sight of desiccated bodies drives home the gravity of their situation. Violet's mind races, strategizing how to contain the threat while ensuring the safety of the remaining cadets. Her bond with Tairn strengthens her resolve, even as he warns of the dangers ahead. The squad's path leads them to the stairwell descending to the interrogation chamber, where the venin are attempting to free Jack Barlow, a dangerous prisoner. Violet's quick thinking and leadership shine as she coordinates their approach, ensuring everyone is positioned for maximum impact. The scene is a flurry of movement and tension, with Rhiannon and Rhydock demonstrating their loyalty and skill in the face of overwhelming danger. A fierce battle ensues as the squad confronts the venin. Violet's precision with her daggers is matched by the venin's unnatural speed and strength, creating a harrowing fight that tests their limits. The confined space of the chamber amplifies the intensity, forcing the squad to adapt quickly to the shifting dynamics of combat. Violet's quick reflexes and strategic thinking allow her to strike a critical blow against one of the venin, but the fight is far from over. As Violet faces a particularly cunning dark wielder, shadows suddenly envelop the chamber, silencing the battle. Xaden's arrival shifts the tide, his mastery of shadows obliterating the remaining venin. The overwhelming power he wields is both a relief and a source of unease for Violet. The contrast between his lethal precision and her calculated risks underscores the strength of their partnership, despite the unspoken tension surrounding Xaden's recent actions. The chapter ends on a somber note as Violet and her squad regroup. The cost of the battle is apparent in the loss of life and the shaken morale of those who remain. Violet's resolve deepens as she reflects on the venin's audacious attack and the growing threat they pose. The events serve as a stark reminder that their fight is far from over, setting the stage for the challenges ahead. Speshtabasoi. Chapter 3: A Dangerous Revelation. The chapter begins with Violet grappling with the aftermath of the venin attack in the interrogation chamber. As her squad regroups, she finds herself alone with Xaden, whose presence is both a comfort and a source of apprehension. Violet senses that he is hiding something, and her determination to uncover the truth intensifies. The tension between them is palpable, underscored by Violet's unwavering trust in him, despite the lingering uncertainties surrounding his recent choices. As they descend into a quiet hallway, Xaden reveals a shocking truth. He can sense the venin. This ability, which he attributes to his channeling from the earth, has allowed him to anticipate their movements and track them with unsettling accuracy. Violet struggles to process the implications of this revelation. While Xaden views it as further proof of his corruption, Violet sees it as a potential advantage in their fight against the Dark Wielders. The conversation takes a deeply emotional turn as Xaden voices his fears about what he has become. He insists that the power he wields is changing him, making him more like the enemies they fight. Violet's steadfast loyalty and refusal to give up on him shine through as she reassures him of his humanity. Their bond is tested as Xaden admits to feeling the pull of the venin's power, a confession that shakes Violet but does not break her trust in him. The narrative delves into Violet's internal conflict as she balances her logical understanding of Xaden's abilities with her emotional connection to him. Her resolve to find a cure for his condition strengthens, fueled by her love and determination to protect him at all costs. This moment highlights Violet's growth as a leader and her ability to remain steadfast in the face of uncertainty. As they part ways, Violet stills herself for her meeting with the Scenarium, knowing that the stakes have never been higher. The revelation about Xaden's abilities weighs heavily on her mind, but she channels her emotions into a renewed sense of purpose. The meeting looms as a pivotal moment, not just for Violet, but for the future of their fragile alliance with Poromio. The chapter concludes with a powerful reflection on the nature of trust and sacrifice. Violet's unwavering belief in Xaden, even as he doubts himself, underscores the depth of their bond. The stage is set for further challenges as Violet prepares to face the scenarium and navigate the delicate balance between loyalty, love, and duty. Chapter 4: Trials and Tensions. The chapter begins with Violet entering the Grand Hall for her meeting with the Scenarium, the governing council of Navarre. The atmosphere is tense as the 6 highest-ranking aristocrats sit at the table, flanked by advisors and guards. General Melgren's presence adds an ominous air, his cold gaze fixed on Violet as she approaches. The stakes are high, with the council's decisions carrying implications for the peace negotiations and Violet's role in the ongoing conflict. The Scenarium waste no time in questioning Violet's actions and loyalty. They highlight the precarious balance of trust between Navarre and the rebellion, especially with Xaden's controversial position. Violet remains composed, countering their accusations with sharp wit and logic. She defends her decisions during the recent battles, emphasizing the necessity of unity in the face of the Venin threat. Her poise and determination impress some members, though others remain skeptical. As the discussion shifts to the future, the council reveals their plans to form a task force dedicated to finding Andarna's kind, the elusive 7th breed of dragon. Violet is both honored and apprehensive, as they propose her as the mission's leader. The weight of the responsibility and the implications for Andarna weigh heavily on her. But she agrees, knowing it is a critical step in their fight against the Venin. Her bond with Andarna deepens as they silently communicate their mutual resolve. General Melgren's manipulative nature comes to the forefront as he questions Violet's loyalty to Navarre and subtly hints at the dangers of her bond with Xaden. His veiled threats and condescending tone test Violet's patience, but she holds her ground, refusing to be intimidated. The tension between them underscores the fragile alliances within the council and the challenges Violet faces in navigating the political. The meeting takes a surprising turn when the council announces their intent to temporarily ally with Poromiel. Violet's shock is evident, as this decision complicates the already precarious dynamics between the rebellion and the traditionalists. The council's pragmatic approach clashes with Violet's idealism, highlighting the differences in their priorities. The moment reinforces the theme of sacrifice for the greater good, as Violet contemplates the personal and political costs of their alliance. The chapter concludes with Violet leaving the hall, her mind racing with the weight of the council's decisions. The task ahead feels overwhelming, but her resolve remains unshaken. She is determined to prove her worth as a leader and protect those she loves, even as the political and emotional stakes continue to rise. The stage is set for Violet's journey to uncover the secrets of Andarna's kind and navigate the treacherous path of alliances and betrayals. Chapter 5: Preparing for the Unknown. The chapter begins with Violet returning to her squad after the tense meeting with the Scenarium. The weight of the council's decisions lingers on her shoulders as she gathers her team in the infirmary to discuss the upcoming mission. Sawyer, recovering from his injuries, offers a mix of encouragement and pragmatic advice, while Rhiannon and Ridoc provide unwavering support. Their camaraderie and shared determination highlight the bond that has grown between them through countless battles. Violet reveals the council's plan to seek out Andarna's kind, explaining the importance of their task in turning the tide against the Venin. The squad reacts with a mixture of excitement and apprehension, understanding both the potential of the 7th dragon breed and the risks involved in the mission. Rhiannon steps up as Violet's closest confidant, offering tactical suggestions and emotional reassurance. Their friendship becomes a cornerstone of Violet's confidence. As the squad begins preparing for the journey, tensions arise between the Navarrian and Aertian riders stationed at Basquiath. Violet finds herself mediating conflicts, emphasizing the importance of unity in the face of their common enemy. The fractures within the alliance serve as a reminder of the challenges Violet faces, not just from external threats, but also from the lingering mistrust between the factions. Her leadership skills are put to the test as she navigates these delicate dynamics. Meanwhile, Violet reflects on her bond with Xaden, whose recent revelations about sensing the Venin weigh heavily on her mind. She seeks out a private moment with him, determined to reassure him of her unwavering trust and love. Their conversation is fraught with emotion as Xaden struggles with his fears of losing control, and Violet vows to stand by him no matter the cost. Their bond strengthens, even as the challenges they face seem insurmountable. The fogginess seems to suspend its grasp over his head until it breaks the next morning. Every single day, the newsboy jumps on scene with his immense stature and burrs significantly. The chapter also delves into Violet's connection with Andarna, who expresses both excitement and trepidation about finding her kind. Their dialogue provides insight into the unique relationship between rider and dragon, as well as the stakes involved in uncovering the secrets of the seventh breed. Andarna's determination mirrors Violet's, solidifying their shared purpose and the mission ahead. The chapter concludes with Violet and her squad making their final preparations for the journey. The weight of responsibility and the unknown looms over them, but their resolve is unshaken. As they prepare to leave the safety of Basgiath, Violet's thoughts turn to the challenges that await them, both within the wilds and within themselves. The stage is set for an epic journey that promises danger, discovery, and personal growth. Chapter 6: Departure into the Unknown. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad setting out on their mission to find Andarna's kind. The mood is a mix of anticipation and apprehension as they leave the familiar safety of Basgiath behind. The squad's departure is marked by farewells and last-minute preparations, emphasizing the gravity of their mission. Violet's inner monologue reveals her resolve to succeed, not only for the sake of their alliance, but also to honor the sacrifices made by those they've lost. As they take to the skies, the narrative shifts to describe the vast and treacherous landscape they must traverse. The snow-covered peaks and dense forests create a sense of isolation, reflecting the squad's vulnerability. Violet, riding Tairn, observes the group's formation and ensures that everyone remains alert. The bond between the riders and their dragons is highlighted through their synchronized movements, showcasing the trust and coordination they've built over time. The journey is not without its challenges. Harsh weather conditions, including biting winds and sudden downdrafts, test the riders' endurance and their dragons' resilience. Violet's leadership comes into play as she encourages the group to stay focused and adaptable. Andarna, eager yet cautious about the journey, provides moments of levity with her curious observations and occasional complaints about the cold. These interactions showcase the unique dynamic between Violet and her dragons. As they fly further from Basgiath, the squad encounters signs of venin activity, a burnt village and desiccated corpses that bear the unmistakable marks of their enemies. The discovery reignites the group's sense of urgency and fear, reminding them of the ever-present threat the venin pose. Violet reflects on the weight of their mission, understanding that their success could tip the balance in their ongoing war. Tensions within the squad begin to surface as the pressure of the mission mounts. Differences in opinion about strategy and risk-taking create friction among the riders. Violet steps in to mediate, using her diplomatic skills to maintain unity. These moments underscore the importance of teamwork and trust, even as personal insecurities and doubts threaten to undermine their cohesion. The chapter ends with the squad setting up camp for the night, their dragons forming a protective perimeter around the group. Violet takes a moment to reflect on the day's challenges and the long road ahead. Despite the difficulties, she remains determined to see the mission through, her thoughts turning to Xaden and the stakes they face. The chapter sets the tone for the journey to come, blending action, tension, and introspection. Chapter 7: Unseen Dangers. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad waking to the eerie quiet of their camp. The cold, misty dawn adds to their unease as they prepare to continue their journey. Tairn and Andarna maintain their vigilance, scanning the surrounding terrain for signs of danger. Violet reflects on the challenges of leading the mission, feeling the weight of responsibility for both the success of their task and the safety of her team. She remembers her discipline, in the way it refused to speak unless told to. Her determination steels her resolve as they prepare to move out. As the group takes to the skies, attention builds with the increasing signs of venin activity. Burnt patches of forest and abandoned villages mar the landscape, each scene a grim reminder of the stakes. Andarna's observations about the devastation reveal her growing maturity and sense of purpose, adding depth to her bond with Violet. The squad exchanges strategies on how to track the venin without revealing their position, showcasing their ability to work together under pressure. Mid-flight, the squad is ambushed by wyverns, their sudden attack breaking the morning silence. The chaotic battle tests the riders' coordination and trust in one another. Violet's leadership shines as she quickly organizes their response, directing her team to counter the wyverns' relentless assault. The vivid descriptions of aerial combat emphasize the dragon's agility and power, as well as the riders' skill and bravery. Violet's precision with her lightning strikes is pivotal, turning the tide of the battle. Despite their victory, the aftermath reveals the cost of the encounter. One of the dragons sustains injuries, and the squad must land to tend to the wounded. The scene is fraught with tension as the riders struggle to patch up their companion while remaining vigilant for further attacks. The camaraderie among the group is evident as they rally to support one another, their bonds strengthening in the face of adversity. The first. As night falls, the group finds temporary shelter in the ruins of an abandoned outpost. The eerie atmosphere and signs of previous battles deepen their unease, but they take the opportunity to rest and regroup. Around the campfire, the squad discusses their next steps, debating whether to continue their current path or adjust their strategy. The moment highlights their collective resilience and determination, even as the uncertainty of their mission looms over them. The chapter concludes with Violet standing watch, her thoughts turning to Xaden and the unknown challenges ahead. The weight of her responsibilities and the dangers they face only fuel her resolve to see the mission through. As the stars shine above the desolate landscape, Violet vows to protect her team and uncover the secrets that could change the course of their war. The chapter sets the stage for the escalating challenges to come, blending action, introspection, and camaraderie. Chapter 8: Shadows and Alliances. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad continuing their trek through the wilderness, pressing onward despite the rising tension. The harsh terrain becomes increasingly challenging, with dense forests and steep cliffs testing both the dragon's strength and the rider's endurance. The group remains on high alert, wary of potential ambushes. Violet's inner resolve grows as she reflects on the sacrifices required for their mission, her thoughts lingering on Xaden and the secrets he keeps. As they navigate a particularly treacherous mountain pass, the squad encounters a small group of scouts from Poromiel. The initial meeting is fraught with suspicion as neither side fully trusts the other. Violet takes the lead in negotiating, using her diplomatic skills to diffuse the tension and establish a tentative alliance. The Poromiel scouts share crucial intelligence about the Venan's movements, including a warning about an impending attack on a nearby village. The decision to aid the village divides the squad, with some members arguing that it is too risky and others insisting that they cannot ignore the plight of innocent people. Violet ultimately decides to intervene, emphasizing the importance of their role as protectors. The group sets a plan in motion, coordinating with the Poromiel scouts to launch a surprise attack on the Venene forces threatening the village. The scene underscores Violet's growth as a leader in her ability to inspire loyalty. The battle that follows is intense and chaotic, with the squad and Poromiel scouts working together to fend off the Venene and their wyverns. The vivid descriptions of the fight highlight the dragon's power and the rider's tactical ingenuity. Violet's lightning-wielding abilities prove crucial once again, allowing her to strike down several enemies. Despite the overwhelming odds, the group manages to secure a hard-fought victory, saving the village and driving the Venene into retreat. In the aftermath of the battle, the villagers express their gratitude, offering the squad supplies and shelter. The moment provides a brief respite from the constant tension, allowing the group to regroup and heal. The Poromiel scouts, impressed by Violet's leadership and the squad's bravery, pledge their continued support. This newfound alliance strengthens Violet's resolve, giving her hope that unity against Venene is possible, despite their differences. The chapter concludes with Violet reflecting on the day's events as she prepares for the next leg of their journey. The alliance with Poromiel represents a significant step forward, but the challenges ahead remain daunting. Violet's determination to protect her squad and fulfill their mission burns brighter than ever, setting the stage for further revelations and battles. The chapter blends action, diplomacy, and character development, deepening the story's stakes and emotional impact. Chapter 9: Revelations in the Shadows. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad departing the village at dawn, their supplies replenished and spirits bolstered by the alliance with the Poromiel scouts. Despite the momentary reprieve, the tension remains high as the group presses forward into unfamiliar territory. Violet reflects on the growing complexity of their mission, balancing the immediate threat of the Venene with the broader objective of finding Andarna's kind. Sistania Thurston, her determination sharpens as she contemplates the stakes for their world. As the squad traverses a dense forest, Andarna begins to sense something unusual, urging Violet to stop. The group halts, and through Andarna's bond, Violet becomes aware of a faint yet powerful energy emanating from the earth. This discovery intrigues her, but also raises concerns about what lies ahead. The group decides to investigate, splitting up to explore the surrounding area, while keeping a watchful eye for any signs of danger. While scouting, Violet and Rhiannon stumble upon ancient ruins hidden within the forest. The intricate carvings and faded murals suggest a connection to the dragons, possibly even to Andarna's kind. The discovery fills Violet with a mix of excitement and trepidation. As they explore further, they find fragments of what appear to be ancient texts, sparking hope that these ruins might hold the key to understanding Andarna's origins. The squad regroups to discuss their findings, but their deliberation is interrupted by an ambush. A group of Venin, clearly aware of their presence, attacks with brutal efficiency. The battle is fierce, with Violet and her squad fighting to protect the ruins while holding their ground against the relentless enemy. The confined space adds to the tension, forcing the riders to rely on precise teamwork and quick thinking. You realize that when you put us to egg on. Violet's lightning-wielding abilities once again prove critical, but the toll of the battle weighs heavily on the group. After driving off the Venin, the squad tends to their wounds and surveys the damage. The attack leaves them shaken, but determined to uncover the secrets of the ruins. Violet examines the fragments of ancient texts more closely, realizing they might contain information about the dragon's history and the nature of their bonds. This realization deepens her resolve to protect Andarna and her kind, understanding that their survival could hold the key to defeating the Venin. The chapter concludes with the squad deciding to stay at the ruins for the night, fortifying their position against further attacks. Violet stands watch, her thoughts swirling with questions about the ruins, the Venin's knowledge of their mission, and the growing tension within the squad. The discovery of the ruins and the battle that followed mark a turning point in their journey, blending mystery, action, and emotional stakes that propel the story forward. Chapter 10. Unearthing the Past. The chapter begins with the squad camped at the ruins, their spirits cautious but curious after the recent ambush. The ancient carvings and fragments of text provide a mysterious backdrop as Violet spends the early morning studying the remnants. With Andarna's guidance, Violet attempts to decipher the markings which seem to detail the origins of the dragon breeds and hint at the existence of the elusive seventh breed. The task is overwhelming, but it strengthens Violet's resolve to uncover the truth. The squad works together to secure the area, fortifying the ruins against potential attacks. Rhiannon and Ruddock, ever resourceful, scout the surrounding forest for additional signs of Venin activity, while Sawyer organizes their supplies. The scene underscores the squad's growing unity and shared purpose. Despite the looming threat, their camaraderie provides moments of levity, with teasing banter lightening the mood and deepening the bond among the group. It has been now 47 years since Ruddock's, the family banner, organizing the mood, licensed the name Ruddock to take part in this melodrama. As Violet delves deeper into the ruins, she uncovers a hidden chamber concealed beneath layers of debris. With the help of Tairn's strength and Andarna's insight, the squad gains access to the chamber, revealing a treasure trove of ancient artifacts and inscriptions. The room feels sacred, as if untouched by time. Violet senses a powerful energy emanating from the chamber, heightening her awareness of the importance of their discovery. Inside, Violet discovers an intact manuscript written in ancient dialect. With Andarna's help, she begins translating parts of it, uncovering startling revelations about the connection between dragons and their riders. The text hints at a symbiotic bond that extends beyond power, rooted in mutual trust and shared destiny. It also suggests that the seventh breed might possess abilities that could change the tide of their war against the Venin. The manuscript's implications ignite both hope and fear within Violet. The squad's progress is interrupted by the arrival of a poor mule scout, bearing news of increased Venin activity in the area. The scout warns that their presence at the ruins may have drawn unwanted attention, urging them to move before they are overwhelmed. The tension escalates as Violet is torn between staying to uncover more about the ruins or heeding the warning and ensuring the squad's safety. The decision weighs heavily on her, highlighting her growth as a leader. The chapter ends with Violet deciding to take the manuscript and leave the ruins. She understands that their survival and the mission's success depend on finding Andarna's kind, not lingering in one place. As the squad departs, the weight of the manuscript's revelations lingers in Violet's mind, fueling her determination to unlock its secrets. The chapter expertly balances discovery, tension, and character development, setting the stage for the squad's next challenges. Chapter 11. A Treacherous Path. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad leaving the ruins, their newfound knowledge and artifacts secured. The weight of the manuscript's revelation sits heavily on Violet's mind as they navigate through the dense forest. She reflects on the implications of the ancient texts, particularly the connection between dragons and riders, and the potential of the seventh breed. The squad remains on high alert, knowing that the Venin are likely tracking them after the recent ambush. The landscape grows increasingly hostile as the squad presses onward. Steep inclines, thick underbrush, and icy winds test both the dragons and their riders. Violet demonstrates her growing confidence as a leader, motivating her team and ensuring they maintain their formation. Andarna provides moments of levity with her curious observations about the terrain. But the bond between Violet and her dragons also deepens as they rely on one another to navigate the challenging environment. Tensions rise when the squad encounters signs of a Venin stronghold nearby. Charred remnants of a village and tracks in the snow suggest a large concentration of enemies in the area. The group debates their next move, with some advocating for a direct confrontation and others urging caution. Violet ultimately decides to scout the area to gather intelligence before making any rash decisions. Her calculated approach underscores her growth as a strategic thinker. The squad splits into smaller groups to scout the area, increasing their risk but allowing them to cover more ground. Violet and Rhiannon pair up, their bond as friends and comrades evident as they navigate the dangerous terrain together. During their reconnaissance, they discover a hidden pathway leading to what appears to be a heavily fortified Venin camp. The discovery is both a breakthrough and a dire warning, as it confirms the Venin's escalating strength. The tension builds as Violet and Rhiannon narrowly avoid detection by Venin patrols. Their stealth and quick thinking allow them to return to the squad undetected, but the close call serves as a stark reminder of the dangers they face. Violet shares her findings with the group, and they formulate a plan to bypass the Venin stronghold while avoiding direct confrontation. The decision is fraught with risk, but Violet's leadership reassures the squad. The chapter ends with the squad setting out to navigate around the Venin camp, their resolve strengthened by the knowledge they've gained and the dangers they've overcome. The looming threat of the Venin forces and the mystery of the manuscript propel the narrative forward, blending action, strategy, and emotional depth. Violet's growth as a leader and her unshakable determination to protect her team and fulfill their mission shine throughout the chapter. De Susan Minstrel, Chapter 12, The Edge of Conflict. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad navigating the outskirts of the Venin stronghold. The tension is palpable as they move cautiously, each step fraught with the risk of discovery. Violet takes the lead, her heightened senses and bond with Andarna guiding the group through treacherous terrain. The manuscript she carries weighs heavily on her mind, its secrets and implications driving her forward despite the looming danger. As they maneuver around the stronghold, the squad encounters signs of recent Venin activity. Charred patches of earth and the occasional remnants of desiccated bodies serve as grim reminders of their enemy's presence. The narrative delves into Violet's internal conflict as she grapples with the horror of the Venin's destruction and the immense responsibility placed on her shoulders. Her resolve to uncover the truth about Andarna's kind and bring an end to the Venin's reign of terror remains unshaken. The tension escalates when the squad stumbles upon a Venin patrol. The confrontation is swift and brutal, with Violet and her team forced into a deadly skirmish. The tight quarters of the forest amplify the chaos, testing the squad's coordination and trust in one another. Violet's lightning-wielding abilities prove instrumental once again, her precise strikes neutralizing key threats. Despite their success, the encounter leaves the squad shaken and weary, knowing they've likely alerted the stronghold to their presence. After regrouping, the squad debates their next course of action. Some members advocate for retreating to a safer location, while others argue for pressing forward. Violet's leadership shines as she carefully weighs the risk and makes a decisive choice to push onward. Her confidence and determination inspire the squad, even as doubts linger in the air. The moment underscores the growing trust and camaraderie among the group. The squad's journey takes them to a narrow mountain pass, where they encounter unexpected reinforcements in the form of Poromial scouts. The scouts, impressed by Violet's reputation and the squad's resilience, offer to guide them through a secret route that bypasses the Venin stronghold. The alliance brings a renewed sense of hope and possibility, though Violet remains cautious about trusting their new allies completely. And at Rockefeller's Epitreance, Alice's world tipper's fate on the stronghold of the squad's friend Screen. The chapter concludes with the group setting camp under the scouts' guidance, the looming threat of the Venin stronghold still present but temporarily at bay. Violet takes a moment to reflect on the day's events, her mind racing with thoughts of the manuscript, the Venin, and the mounting stakes of their mission. The chapter blends action, strategy, and character development, further deepening the story's complexity and emotional resonance. Chapter 13: Whispers of the Past. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad trekking through the secret mountain pass under the guidance of the Pormule scouts. The path is narrow and treacherous, flanked by steep cliffs and hidden dangers. The scouts warn of potential ambushes from Venin patrols, keeping everyone on edge. Violet's leadership remains steadfast as she ensures the group stays focused and coordinated, her bond with Andarna and Tairn providing her with the strength to navigate the challenges ahead. As they continue, the Pormule scouts reveal more about the history of the region, including tales of battles fought between dragons and Venin centuries ago. These stories resonate with Violet, who begins to see parallels between the past and their current struggles. The scouts hint at a deeper connection between the ruins they recently left and the dragon's origins, fueling Violet's determination to uncover the truth. This exchange deepens the narrative's world-building and highlights the interconnectedness of the story's elements. The tension rises when the group comes across signs of recent Venin activity. Scorched earth and remnants of magical residue suggest that the Venin are more active in the area than previously thought. The squad debates whether to engage or avoid the Venin, with Violet ultimately deciding to press forward cautiously. Her tactical decision-making reflects her growth as a leader and her ability to balance risk with necessity. The group encounters a hidden cave marked by ancient symbols that Andarna recognizes as belonging to her kind. This discovery ignites hope within the group as it suggests they are on the right path. Inside the cave, they find more carvings and fragments of text, which Violet begins to decipher with Andarna's help. The text hints at the immense power and responsibility associated with the seventh dragon breed, further emphasizing the importance of their mission. Under seizure of their exploration is interrupted by a sudden Venin attack, forcing the squad into another intense battle. The confined space of the cave adds to the challenge, but the squad's training and teamwork prevail. Violet's lightning-wielding abilities once again prove critical, but the fight leaves the group battered and weary. The Pormule scouts provide much-needed reinforcements, their skill and bravery earning the squad's respect. The chapter concludes with the squad securing the cave and tending to their wounds. Violet reflects on the discoveries they've made and the battles they've fought, her determination stronger than ever. The secrets within the cave offer a glimmer of hope, but the looming threat of the Venin remains ever present. The chapter masterfully blends action, discovery, and emotional depth, propelling the story forward and setting the stage for even greater challenges to come. Chapter 14: A Fractured Alliance. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad recovering in the ancient cave they secured after the recent Venin attack. The tension is palpable as the group tends to their injuries and reflects on the growing dangers of their mission. Violet spends the early morning studying the carvings and fragments of text within the cave. Andarna helps her decipher more of the symbols, which reveal cryptic details about the origins of the seventh dragon breed and its potential connection to the balance of power in their world. As Violet contemplates the implications of these revelations, tensions rise within the group. The stress of constant battles and near-death experiences begins to wear on the squad, leading to heated arguments about their next steps. Rhysand, usually the voice of levity, becomes uncharacteristically serious, questioning whether the mission is worth the risks. Violet steps in to mediate, using her growing leadership skills to rally her team and remind them of their shared purpose. The fragile alliance with the Pormule scouts is tested when a disagreement arises over strategy. The scouts suggest an aggressive approach to eliminate a nearby Venin encampment, but Violet and her squad advocate for caution, fearing that a direct assault could jeopardize their mission. The tension escalates as mistrust between the two groups comes to the surface. Violet, caught in the middle, must navigate the delicate balance between maintaining the alliance and protecting her squad. The narrative shifts to an unexpected moment of vulnerability between Violet and Xaden. During a brief reprieve, Xaden shares his fears about the toll the mission is taking on their group and on Violet herself. His concern for her safety reveals the depth of his feelings, adding emotional weight to their bond. Violet reassures him of her resolve, emphasizing her belief in their ability to succeed despite the challenges they face. Xaden's compulsion. This intimate moment deepens their connection, providing a respite from the external conflict. As the chapter progresses, the group prepares to leave the cave, but not before uncovering one final clue. Violet discovers a hidden compartment within the cave containing a small, ancient artifact, an intricately carved amulet that pulses faintly with energy. Andarna recognizes it as a relic tied to her kind, further solidifying the cave's importance. The artifact's purpose remains unclear, but Violet senses its significance and decides to bring it with them. The piano? Andarna asks in the non-substitute scene. The chapter concludes with the squad setting out once again, their path uncertain but their resolve unbroken. The discovery of the artifact and the tensions within the group add layers of complexity to the story, blending action, emotional stakes, and mystery. As Violet leads her team into the unknown, the narrative sets the stage for greater revelations and conflicts to come. Chapter 15. Ambush in the Shadows. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad pressing onward, navigating a treacherous path away from the cave and deeper into uncharted territory. The weight of their discoveries, both the manuscript and the amulet, fuels their determination, but the lingering tension within the group is palpable. The Poromial scouts continue to accompany them, though the trust between the two factions remains tenuous at best. Violet focuses on maintaining unity, understanding the critical role of their alliance in the mission's success. As they approach a dense forest, the atmosphere shifts ominously. Andarna warns Violet of an unnatural stillness in the area, her instincts signaling danger. Violet relays this to the group, and they proceed with caution. The narrative builds tension as the squad moves through the forest, the oppressive quiet amplifying every sound. The intricate descriptions of the landscape reflect the danger lurking just out of sight, heightening the sense of foreboding. Without warning, the squad is ambushed by a large group of venin and their wyverns. The battle is fierce and chaotic, with the enemy using the forest density to their advantage. Violet quickly takes charge, coordinating the squad's movements and ensuring they maintain their formation. The vivid descriptions of the fight emphasize the riders' skill and bravery, as well as the dragon's raw power. Tairn and Andarna prove instrumental in turning the tide, their unique abilities creating openings for the squad to strike back. The Poromial scouts play a pivotal role in the battle, their knowledge of the terrain and swift tactics helping to counter the venin's ambush. Despite their earlier mistrust, the two groups fight as one, their shared purpose binding them together. Violet observes this shift with a mix of relief and hope, recognizing that unity is their strongest weapon against the venin. The battle serves as a turning point in the alliance, solidifying a fragile but growing trust. In the aftermath, the squad surveys the battlefield, their victory tempered by the cost. Several of the Poromial scouts have fallen, and one of the dragons is gravely injured. The scene is somber as Violet reflects on the price of their mission and the sacrifices required to see it through. Her resolve deepens as she comforts her team and vows to honor the fallen by continuing their fight. The emotional toll of the battle adds depth to the story, highlighting the personal stakes for each character. The chapter ends with the squad regrouping and preparing to move on. Violet clutches the amulet tightly, its faint glow a reminder of their ultimate goal. The ambush has left them battered but not broken, their shared experiences forging stronger bonds within the group. As they leave the forest behind, the narrative hints at the challenges yet to come, blending action, emotion, and suspense to propel the story forward. Chapter 16. Secrets in the Wind. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad moving cautiously through open plains after escaping the dense forest and the aftermath of the ambush. The terrain offers fewer places to hide, increasing the group's vulnerability. The squad remains on edge, but their unity is stronger after the hard-fought battle with the venin. Violet uses the time to reflect on the mission stakes, her leadership role, and the mysterious amulet's significance, which continues to pulse faintly in her possession. As they progress, Andarna becomes restless, sensing something significant in the wind. Her unease transfers to Violet, who questions the dragon's instincts. Andarna reveals that she feels a connection, distant yet unmistakable, to her kind. The revelation sparks hope and urgency within the group, as they realize they might be drawing closer to their goal. The chapter's tone shifts to one of cautious optimism, even as the specter of danger looms. Midway through their journey, the squad encounters a natural barrier, a wide river with no visible crossing. The group debates their options, with tensions flaring as they weigh the risks of finding a safe route versus forging directly through the fast-moving waters. Violet takes charge, deciding to scout for a crossing upstream. Her decision reflects her growing confidence as a leader and her ability to make difficult calls under pressure. During the search, Violet and Xaden share a rare moment of quiet conversation. Xaden opens up about his fears for the squad and the mounting pressure of their mission. Their exchange reveals the depth of his feelings for Violet and his internal struggle to balance his protective instincts with his trust in her leadership. Violet reassures him, emphasizing her belief in their team and their shared ability to overcome the challenges ahead. The scene deepens their bond and adds an emotional layer to the narrative. Eventually, the squad discovers an ancient stone bridge hidden beneath overgrown vegetation, its carvings resembling those found in the cave. The discovery renews their spirits and reinforces their belief that they are on the right path. As they begin to cross, however, they are ambushed by wyverns, their screeches echoing across the plains. The squad is forced into a desperate battle, the narrowness of the bridge adding to the peril. The tension and stakes of the fight are palpable, with each member of the squad playing a critical role in defending their position. The chapter concludes with the squad narrowly defeating the wyverns and crossing the bridge, exhausted but triumphant. The encounter leaves them shaken, but the sight of the amulet glowing brighter reassures Violet that they are moving closer to their goal. The chapter masterfully balances action, emotional depth, and suspense, setting the stage for the revelations and challenges yet to come. Chapter 17. Echoes of Power. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad pushing forward after their harrowing battle on the bridge. The terrain changes dramatically as they enter a windswept valley surrounded by jagged cliffs. The squad is weary but resolute, their spirits lifted slightly by the increasing glow of the amulet in Violet's possession. Andarna's excitement grows, her connection to the mysterious energy of the valley becoming stronger. The group senses they are nearing a pivotal moment in their mission. As they advance deeper into the valley, the air becomes thick with an almost tangible power. Violet feels it in her bones, a hum that seems to resonate with her bond to Tairn and Andarna. The dragons respond in kind, their movements more deliberate, as if drawn to something ancient and significant. The narrative describes the heightened senses and awareness among the group, building anticipation for what lies ahead. The squad discovers a massive stone structure carved into the cliffs, hidden by centuries of erosion and overgrowth. The intricate carvings resemble those in the ruins and the cave, suggesting a direct connection to the origins of Andarna's kind. The poor male scouts, awed by the sight, confirm that this location is a place of legend, long believed to be the home of a forgotten power. Violet leads the group into the structure, her determination tempered by caution. Inside, the group finds themselves in a vast hall lined with glowing inscriptions that pulse faintly in the presence of their dragons. Andarna identifies the language as one spoken by her ancestors, and with her guidance, Violet begins deciphering the text. The inscriptions tell the story of the seventh dragon breed. Revealing their role as guardians of balance in the world, the seventh breed's unique abilities were meant to protect the fabric of existence from corruption, making their disappearance an immeasurable loss. While exploring the hall, Violet discovers an altar at its center, surrounded by ancient relics. The amulet in her possession reacts strongly to the altar, its glow intensifying until it bathes the room in light. The scene is both awe-inspiring and unnerving as the group realizes they are in the heart of something far greater than they had imagined. Andarna begins to understand her own significance, her connection to this place solidifying as her memories of her kind become clear. In pondering out loud how she was born, the story decorator upon it was constructed by someone who believed their one world should be all. The chapter concludes with the squad facing an unexpected challenge. The powerful energy emanating from the altar seems to attract Benayan, who arrive in force to claim the relics for themselves. The group braces for a fight, the stakes higher than ever as they prepare to defend the ancient site. Violet's resolve hardens as she takes her position, determined to protect Andarna and the secrets of the seventh breed at all costs. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, blending discovery, action, and tension to propel the narrative forward. Chapter 18. Guardians of the Altar. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad preparing for battle as the venin pour into the ancient hall. The overwhelming presence of the Dark Wielders contrasts with the ethereal glow of the altar, creating a striking visual of light against shadow. Violet positions her squad strategically, utilizing the narrow entrances to limit the venin's numbers. Her leadership is sharp and decisive, demonstrating her growth as both a fighter and a commander. The battle begins with a chaotic clash of forces. The venin, drawn to the altar's immense power, fight with a ferocity the squad has rarely seen. Violet's lightning-wielding abilities are pivotal, as she channels the energy of the altar to amplify her strikes. Tairn and Andarna fight alongside her, their unique bond allowing them to coordinate seamlessly. The descriptions of the combat are vivid, emphasizing the teamwork and bravery of the riders and their dragons. Midway through the battle, Andarna reveals a previously unknown ability. Triggered by her connection to the altar, she creates a shimmering shield of energy that protects the group from the Venon's attacks. The moment is awe-inspiring, showcasing Andarna's growing power and hinting at the untapped potential of the seventh breed. Violet recognizes the significance of this ability, understanding that it could be a key factor in their fight against the Venon. The squad's resilience is tested as the Venon adapt their tactics, using dark magic to create illusions and disrupt the riders' coordination. Violet counters by drawing on the knowledge she gained from the manuscript and her growing connection to the altar. Her strategic use of both magic and physical combat turns the tide, inspiring her squad to push back against the enemy. The Poromial scouts prove invaluable, their precision and bravery cementing their place as trusted allies. As the battle reaches its climax, Violet senses the altar responding to her presence. The amulet she carries begins to resonate with the energy of the altar, creating a surge of power that overwhelms the Venon. In a dramatic moment, Violet channels this energy into a devastating attack, obliterating the remaining Venon and sealing the entrances to the hall. The scene is both triumphant and emotionally charged, showcasing the strength of Violet's leadership and her bond with the dragons. The chapter concludes with the squad regrouping and assessing the aftermath. The battle has left them physically and emotionally drained, but their victory feels significant. Violet reflects on the immense power of the altar and the revelations about Andarna's kind. The group's unity and resilience shine through as they prepare to uncover more secrets about the seventh breed. The chapter masterfully blends action, discovery, and emotional stakes, setting the stage for even greater challenges ahead. Chapter 19: Unveiling the Truth. The chapter begins in the aftermath of the intense battle at the altar. Violet and her squad take a moment to recover, tending to injuries and regrouping their thoughts. The atmosphere is somber yet triumphant, with the glow of the altar casting an ethereal light on the scene. The Venon's attack has left the ancient hall in disarray, but the altar itself remains intact, a testament to its immense power and resilience. Violet turns her focus to the inscriptions surrounding the altar, determined to uncover more about the seventh dragon breed and its connection to Andarna. With Andarna's guidance, she deciphers more of the ancient text, learning that the seventh breed was not only a guardian of balance but also a bridge between the dragons and the magical forces of the world. This revelation deepens Violet's understanding of the stakes involved, as the Venon's corruption directly threatens this balance. As Violet explores further, she discovers a hidden compartment beneath the altar, containing a relic unlike anything she's seen before, a crystalline sphere pulsating with energy. Andarna reacts strongly to the relic, her connection to it unmistakable. The Poromial scouts explain that this relic is believed to hold the essence of the seventh breed's power, passed down through generations. The significance of the discovery resonates deeply with Violet and her team, as it offers a glimmer of hope in their fight against the Venon. Tensions rise within the squad as they debate what to do with the relic. Some argue that it should remain at the altar, fearing that removing it might disrupt the delicate balance of the ancient site. Others, including Violet, believe it must be taken to safeguard it from the Venon. Violet's leadership shines as she carefully considers the arguments, ultimately deciding to take the relic, understanding its potential as a weapon against their enemies. As the group prepares to leave the hall, Andarna begins to exhibit signs of transformation. The proximity to the altar and the relic seems to be awakening dormant abilities within her. Her scales shimmer with a faint glow, and her strength visibly increases. The squad watches in awe as Andarna tests her newfound powers, reinforcing the belief that the seventh breed's potential is far greater than they had imagined. Violet's bond with Andarna deepens as she reassures the dragon, promising to protect her and her kind. The chapter concludes with the squad exiting the hall and preparing for the next leg of their journey. The relic's energy radiates from Violet's pack, a constant reminder of its significance and the dangers it brings. The group's resolve is stronger than ever, but the challenges ahead remain daunting. The narrative blends discovery, tension, and character growth, setting the stage for the unfolding mysteries and battles to come. Chapter 20: Trials in the Wilderness. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad leaving the ancient hall, carrying the relic that holds the essence of the seventh dragon breed's power. The air is heavy, with a mix of triumph and unease as the group ventures into the wilderness. The relic's energy pulses faintly in Violet's pack, a constant reminder of its importance and the danger it attracts. Andarna remains close to Violet, her newfound strength and abilities giving the group a renewed sense of hope. "The House of Wizarders has come from some place," Violet declared from the start of the scene. "I will have no such wizards." The terrain grows increasingly hostile as the squad moves deeper into uncharted territory. Jagged cliffs and dense forests make navigation difficult, testing the endurance of both the riders and their dragons. Violet remains vigilant, relying on Tairn's strength and Andarna's instincts to guide them. The narrative delves into the physical and emotional toll the journey takes on the group, emphasizing their resilience and determination. Midway through their journey, the squad encounters signs of venom activity, burnt clearings, and lingering traces of dark magic. The tension escalates as Violet realizes they are being tracked. Her sharp instincts and quick decision-making lead the group to take an alternate route, avoiding a direct confrontation. These moments highlight Violet's growth as a leader and her ability to balance caution with action. The squad's journey takes them to a riverbank, where they decide to set up camp for the night. The scene shifts to moments of camaraderie as the group tends to their dragons and shares stories around the fire. The warmth of their interactions contrasts with the dangers they face, offering a brief respite. Rhiannon's humor and Riddoch's pragmatism shine in these moments, showcasing the depth of their friendships and the strength of their bonds. As the night progresses, Violet studies the relic, its faint glow illuminating the inscriptions etched into its surface. With Andarna's help, she deciphers fragments of its purpose, learning that it not only contains immense power, but also serves as a key to unlocking the potential of the seventh breed. The revelation deepens Violet's resolve to protect the relic and uncover its secrets, despite the risks it poses. The chapter concludes with the squad jolted awake by a disturbance. Shadows moving at the edge of their camp. The Venin have found them. Violet quickly organizes the group, preparing for yet another battle. The tension and stakes are palpable as the squad faces the looming threat. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, blending suspense, action, and emotional depth to propel the narrative forward. Chapter 20. A Night of Fire and Shadows. The chapter begins with the Venin descending on Violet's camp under the cover of darkness, their presence announced by the eerie glow of their corrupted magic. Violet's quick thinking and leadership come to the forefront as she rallies her squad to defend the camp. The dragons form a protective perimeter, their roars shaking the ground as the riders prepare for a fierce confrontation. The tension is immediate, with the threat of overwhelming force pressing on the group. Harry causes. The battle erupts in a chaotic flurry of motion and magic. The confined space of the camp forces Violet and her squad to adapt quickly, using the terrain to their advantage. Violet's lightning-wielding abilities shine as she strikes with precision, disrupting the Venin's attacks and providing openings for her team. The descriptions of the combat are vivid and intense, emphasizing the high stakes and the squad's teamwork. Amid the battle, Andarna reveals another latent ability. She channels the energy of the relic to create a barrier of shimmering light, temporarily shielding the squad from the Venin's onslaught. The display of power amazes both the squad and the dragons, further solidifying Andarna's significance. Violet senses the strain this places on Andarna, deepening her protective instincts and resolve to safeguard her dragon. She objects to attacking more than one Andarna resolved to kill with her mind. She recognizes Violet has survived, therefore if she can survive this. The Venin's tactics grow more desperate as they attempt to breach Andarna's barrier, using corrupted magic to exploit its weaknesses. Violet counters by tapping into her bond with Tairn and Andarna, channeling their combined strength into a powerful strike that breaks the Venin's formation. The tide of the battle turns, but the cost of the fight begins to weigh heavily on the squad as injuries mount and exhaustion sets in. Tairn Pritchard lost his job that morning as the squad set off round the park and sum up to exertion. In the climax of the confrontation, Violet takes a bold risk by using the relic directly, channeling its energy into a final attack. The surge of power is immense, obliterating the remaining Venin but leaving Violet physically drained. The aftermath is a mix of triumph and unease, as the squad realizes the relic's true potential and the dangers of wielding such immense power. Violet's resolve to protect the relic strengthens, even as she grapples with its implications. By the moment Alex disappears in front of them, he braces his back. The chapter concludes with the squad regrouping and tending to their wounds. The night's battle has left them battered but alive, their unity stronger than ever. Violet reflects on the toll the mission is taking on her team and herself, her thoughts filled with determination and a growing sense of purpose. The narrative blends action, suspense, and emotional depth, propelling the story toward its next major revelation. Chapter 22. Reflections in the Aftermath. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad recovering from the previous night's battle. The camp is quiet in the early morning light, a stark contrast to the chaos of the Venom attack. The group is physically and emotionally drained, but their resolve remains unshaken. Violet takes a moment to reflect on the toll the mission is taking, her thoughts lingering on the relic's immense power and the responsibility it carries. "We have achieved," she says. Yarros scowls at the reporters, staring disdainfully. As the squad tends to their injuries and Darna's growing abilities become a focal point, the shimmering barrier she created during the battle has left a visible mark on her scales, glowing faintly as if the relic's energy has bonded with her. The transformation fascinates and worries Violet, who senses that Andarna is becoming something entirely new. Their bond deepens as Violet reassures Andarna of her strength and importance to the mission. The Poromiel scouts take stock of the battle's aftermath, confirming that the Venom forces have been significantly weakened in the region. Their respect for Violet and her squad grows, solidifying the alliance. One scout shares an ancient legend about the relic, describing it as a key not only to unlocking the seventh breed's power, but also to restoring balance to the world. This revelation adds another layer of urgency to the mission, as Violet begins to piece together the relic's full significance. As the group prepares to move out, tensions within the squad resurface. The strain of constant battles and the looming dangers ahead weigh heavily on everyone. Redoc voices concerns about the risks of carrying the relic, fearing it might attract more powerful Venom. Rhysand encounters, arguing that the relic is their best chance at victory. Violet steps in to mediate, emphasizing their shared purpose and the importance of trusting one another. The narrative shifts to a quiet moment between Violet and Xaden, who opens up about his fears for her safety. Xaden expresses his frustration with the relentless pace of their mission and his inability to shield Violet from harm. Their conversation is charged with emotion, revealing the depth of their bond and the growing weight of their responsibilities. Violet reassures him, reaffirming her commitment to the mission and their partnership. He summons his heart and calls the Darkling before the formation to seek relief. He releases magic from the chandelier, and their lips part. The chapter concludes with the squad setting out once again, their path leading toward an ominous mountain range that Andarna identifies as significant to her kind. The relic's glow intensifies as they approach, filling Violet with a mix of hope and dread. The chapter masterfully balances recovery, introspection, and tension, propelling the story toward its next major discovery. Chapter 23. The Mountain's Call. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad approaching the foreboding mountain range that Andarna senses holds critical significance. The air grows colder and heavier as they ascend, and the dragons become increasingly restless. The glowing relic in Violet's possession pulses with energy, its intensity increasing as they near their destination. The tension among the group is palpable, with every step forward carrying the weight of uncertainty and danger. As they climb higher, Andarna begins to experience vivid memories of her ancestors. Through their bond, Violet sees flashes of a once thriving sanctuary for the seventh breed, a place brimming with life and power. These visions fill Andarna with hope, but also a deep sorrow for what has been lost. Violet's resolve to uncover the truth strengthens as she comforts Andarna, promising that they will honor her ancestors' legacy. The squad encounters treacherous terrain with steep cliffs and narrow pathways testing their endurance. The Poromiel scouts prove invaluable, guiding the group through the most dangerous sections. Their knowledge of the region and its hidden dangers reinforces the importance of their alliance. Despite the challenges, the group pushes forward, their shared determination driving them to reach the mountain's summit. At a plateau near the peak, the group discovers a massive weathered gateway carved into the mountainside. The intricate symbols etched into the stone resemble those on the relic and the ruins they explored earlier. The sight is awe-inspiring, and Andarna confirms that this is the entrance to the sanctuary of the seventh breed. The group's sense of anticipation grows as they prepare to enter, knowing that what lies beyond could change the course of their mission and their lives. The narrative shifts to a tense moment as the group realizes they are not alone. The Venom forces, likely drawn by the relic's energy, have followed them to the gateway. The squad quickly forms a defensive line, their dragons taking strategic positions around the plateau. The looming battle feels inevitable, with the squad knowing they must hold their ground to protect the entrance and secure their chance to uncover the sanctuary's secrets. A couple of hours later, the squad strolls to the crown to protect the entrance and secure their chance to uncover the sanctuary's secrets. The chapter concludes with the first wave of Venin attacking, their dark magic clashing violently with the squad's defenses. Violet channels the relic's energy to bolster her lightning strikes, while Andarna's growing abilities once again play a pivotal role in shielding the group. The fight is fierce, and the stakes are higher than ever as the squad battles to protect the gateway. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, blending action, suspense, and emotional intensity to propel the story forward. Chapter 24. Guardians of the Gateway. The chapter begins with the squad fully engaged in a brutal battle to protect the gateway. The Venin forces attack in relentless waves, their dark magic twisting the air with malevolence. Violet takes charge, directing her squad and coordinating their efforts with the Poromial scouts. The descriptions of the battle are vivid, emphasizing the high stakes as the squad fights to hold their ground against an enemy determined to breach the ancient sanctuary. Violet channels the relic's energy to devastating effect, her lightning strikes amplified to levels she didn't think possible. The relic hums in response, resonating with the symbols etched into the gateway. Andarna, emboldened by the proximity to her ancestral home, uses her newfound abilities to create barriers and disrupt the Venin's attacks. The synergy between Violet, her dragons, and the relic creates a powerful defense. But the strain begins to show as the battle drags on. Amid the chaos, one of the Venin manages to break through the squad's defenses, targeting the gateway itself. Violet reacts quickly, striking the Venin down with precision. However, the act triggers a surge of energy from the relic, causing the gateway to respond. The massive stone doors tremble and begin to open, revealing a faint, shimmering light emanating from within. The sight inspires awe and fear among the squad as they realize the sanctuary is awakening. The opening of the gateway seems to invigorate the Venin, who intensify their attacks in a desperate bid to gain access. Violet and her squad fight with renewed determination, knowing that failure is not an option. The Poromial scouts prove invaluable, their precision and bravery helping to keep the Venin at bay. The battle highlights the unity and resilience of the group, even as the odds appear stacked against them. As the gateway fully opens, a powerful force emerges from within, a pulse of ancient energy that sweeps across the battlefield. The Venin are momentarily stunned, their magic disrupted by the force. Taking advantage of the moment, Violet leads a coordinated attack that drives the remaining Venin into retreat. The squad stands victorious, but the cost of the battle is evident in their injuries and exhaustion. Fanart. The chapter concludes with the squad entering the gateway, their steps cautious but resolute. Inside, they find a breathtaking sanctuary filled with shimmering light, flowing streams, and intricate carvings that seem to come alive in Andarna's presence. The scene is both serene and awe-inspiring, offering a brief respite after the chaos of the battle. Violet reflects on the sacrifices that brought them here, her determination to uncover the sanctuary's secret stronger than ever. The chapter masterfully blends action, discovery, and emotional depth, propelling the story toward its next major revelation. Chapter 25. The Heart of the Sanctuary. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad stepping into the sanctuary, a vast, luminous expanse unlike anything they've ever seen. The air is filled with a gentle hum, as though the space itself is alive. Streams of light flow through the walls and ceiling, casting intricate patterns that seem to shift with Andarna's movements. The dragons react with awe, their postures reverent as they sense the immense power within the sanctuary. The Simarath die. Andarna's connection to the sanctuary becomes immediately apparent as she moves toward the center, guided by an instinct that transcends words. Violet follows closely, her senses heightened by the relic's steady pulse. The squad explores cautiously, marveling at the intricate carvings and symbols that line the walls. These images depict the history of the seventh breed, their role as guardians of balance, and the tragic events that led to their near extinction. At the heart of the sanctuary, the group discovers a central dais surrounded by 7 towering obelisks, each glowing faintly. Andarna steps onto the dais, and the obelisks respond, their light intensifying and filling the room with an almost overwhelming brilliance. Violet feels the relic resonate with the energy, and through her bond with Andarna, she glimpses visions of the seventh breed's past. A thriving community of dragons and riders working in harmony to protect the world from corruption. The squad's awe is interrupted by the arrival of a new figure. a guardian of the sanctuary, seemingly made of light and stone. The guardian addresses Andarna directly, acknowledging her as a descendant of the seventh breed and welcoming her home. The guardian's presence is both commanding and serene, exuding wisdom and authority. Through a telepathic connection, the guardian begins to share the sanctuary secrets with Andarna and Violet. The guardian reveals that the sanctuary is not just a refuge but also a repository of knowledge and power designed to aid the seventh breed in their role as protectors. The relic, now glowing brighter than ever, is revealed to be a key that can unlock the full potential of the sanctuary's power. However, this power comes with a cost. Using it will bind the wielder to the sanctuary, ensuring its protection, but isolating them from the outside world. This revelation leaves Violet and Andarna with a difficult decision. The chapter concludes with the guardian warning of an impending threat. The Venin, aware of the sanctuary's awakening, are amassing forces to claim its power for themselves. The squad's moment of awe and discovery is cut short as they realize the battle for the sanctuary has only just begun. The chapter masterfully balances wonder, tension, and emotional stakes, setting the stage for an epic confrontation. Chapter 26. A Line in the Light. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad absorbing the guardian's warning of an imminent Venemian attack. The sanctuary, now fully awake, pulses with energy, reflecting the heightened stakes of the moment. The squad prepares for the coming battle, fortifying the sanctuary's entrance while grappling with the weight of the guardian's revelations. Violet, feeling the strain of leadership, channels her determination into organizing the group, knowing that their survival depends on their ability to work as one. As the squad positions themselves around the sanctuary, the guardian imparts further knowledge to Violet and Andarna. The sanctuary's power, while immense, can only be fully harnessed by one who is willing to make a great sacrifice. Violet grapples with the implications, her sense of duty clashing with her fear of what she might lose. Andarna, sensing Violet's internal conflict, reassures her, their bond deepening in the process. The tension rises as the Venin forces begin their assault. The first wave is composed of wyverns, their shrieks echoing through the sanctuary's halls. The squad springs into action, using the narrow entrance to their advantage. Violet's lightning strikes are precise and devastating, amplified by the relic's power. Tairn and Andarna fight fiercely, their coordination with Violet reflecting their unbreakable bond. The descriptions of the battle are vivid, capturing the chaos and intensity of the clash. Midway through the fight, the Venin deploy their dark magic to create illusions and sow confusion among the defenders. Violet quickly adapts, using her bond with Andarna to see through the illusions and guide her squad. The Poromail scouts prove invaluable once again, their sharp instincts and swift tactics helping to counter the Venin's tricks. The fight highlights the squad's unity and their ability to overcome overwhelming odds. Mr. Alec to the other Morgans. As the battle reaches its peak, the sanctuary itself seems to respond to the conflict. The glowing obelisks emit bursts of light, disrupting the Venin's magic and weakening their attacks. Violet realizes that the sanctuary is not just a passive structure but an active participant in the fight. Drawing on the energy of the relic and the sanctuary, she unleashes a powerful attack that scatters the remaining Venin forces. The moment is both triumphant and harrowing as the strain of channeling such immense power begins to take its toll on Violet. The chapter concludes with a brief respite as the squad regroups and tends to their injuries. The Venin's retreat provides only a temporary reprieve, as the Guardian warns that the assault is far from over. Violet, now more determined than ever, resolves to protect the sanctuary and uncover the full potential of the seventh breed's power. The chapter masterfully blends action, strategy, and emotional depth, setting the stage for the next phase of the conflict. Chapter 27. The Call of Sacrifice. The chapter begins with the squad reinforcing their defenses in anticipation of the Venin's next attack. The air is heavy with tension as they prepare for a prolonged conflict. The sanctuary, now fully awake, hums with energy that seems to heighten the senses of the dragons and their riders. Violet, despite her fatigue, steps into her role as leader with determination, rallying her team and bolstering their morale. The Poromail scouts work alongside the squad, their camaraderie growing stronger in the face of adversity. As the group strategizes, the Guardian approaches Violet and Andarna, offering further insights about the sanctuary and the relic. The Guardian reveals that the relic's true power lies in its ability to amplify the seventh breed's connection to the balance of the world. However, to unlock its full potential, Violet or Andarna must make a profound sacrifice. One of them would have to become permanently bound to the sanctuary, relinquishing their freedom to ensure its protection. This revelation sends shockwaves through Violet, forcing her to confront the costs of their mission. Violet shares the news with her squad, sparking an emotional debate. Rhiannon and Rudok are fiercely opposed to the idea of Violet making such a sacrifice, arguing that the world still needs her leadership outside the sanctuary. Xaden, visibly distressed, voices his fears of losing Violet, his emotions revealing the depth of his connection to her. The scene is charged with tension and raw emotion as the group grapples with the implications of the Guardian's ultimatum. Meanwhile, Andarna begins to explore her connection to the sanctuary more deeply. She senses that her bond to Violet and the relic gives her a unique ability to bridge the ancient power of the sanctuary with the present world. Andarna's growing confidence and maturity shine as she expresses her willingness to take on the burden of the sacrifice, if necessary. Her resolve inspires Violet, but also heightens the stakes of the decision they must make. As the group deliberates, the Venin forces launch a second, more coordinated assault. The sanctuary trembles under the onslaught of dark magic, and the squad is pushed to their limits, defending its entrance. Violet once again draws on the relic's power, her lightning strikes cutting through the Venin with devastating precision. The battle is fierce and chaotic, with the dragons and riders working in perfect synchronization to repel the enemy. The tension is palpable as the Venin's relentless attacks test the squad's endurance. The chapter concludes with the Venin retreating once more, but not before leaving a dire warning. Reinforcements are on the way, and the next attack will be overwhelming. As the group regroups, Violet stands at the center of the sanctuary, staring at the glowing obelisks and the relic in her hands. The weight of the sacrifice looms over her, and she knows the decision must be made soon. The chapter masterfully combines action, emotional stakes, and thematic depth, setting the stage for the next pivotal moment in the story. Chapter 28: The Burden of Choice. The chapter opens with the aftermath of the Venin's second attack. Violet stands amidst the ruins of their makeshift defenses, the sanctuary's glow faintly illuminating the somber faces of her squad. The threat of another, larger assault looms, and the tension among the group is palpable. Violet feels the weight of her responsibility more acutely than ever, knowing the decision about the relic and its power cannot be delayed much longer. The Guardian approaches Violet and Andarna, urging them to act quickly to unlock the sanctuary's full potential. The relic's energy grows stronger, reacting to the imminent threat. Andarna steps forward, expressing her willingness to bear the sacrifice if it will protect the sanctuary and their world. Her bravery and selflessness move the group, but Violet vehemently opposes the idea, unwilling to risk losing her bond with Andarna. The scene underscores the emotional stakes and the strength of their connection. The narrative shifts to the squad's preparations for the coming battle. Rhiannon and Rudok work tirelessly to reinforce their defenses while Xaden takes charge of the dragon's positioning. Despite the urgency, moments of camaraderie emerge as the group shares quiet words of encouragement. Violet's leadership shines as she reassures her team, her determination to protect them driving her forward. Thoughts of her to protect them driving her forward. The tension is heightened by the looming uncertainty of whether they can withstand the Venin's next assault. As the squad strategizes, Andarna reveals a revelation about the sanctuary's power. She believes that the relic can be used without binding someone permanently, but only if Violet channels her connection to both Tairn and Andarna at once, a dangerous and untested process. The group debates the risks of this plan, knowing it could backfire or even harm Violet permanently. Violet, however, is resolute, determined to protect her squad and the sanctuary no matter the cost. The Venin arrive in overwhelming numbers, their forces blotting out the horizon. The final battle begins with a ferocity unlike anything the squad has faced before. Violet, wielding the relic's energy, leads the charge, her lightning strikes cutting through the darkness. The sanctuary responds to her efforts, amplifying her power and creating bursts of light that disorient the Venin. Andarna and Tairn fight valiantly by her side, their bond with Violet stronger than ever. The chapter concludes with Violet stepping onto the dais in the sanctuary's center, the relic glowing fiercely in her hands. As the Venin press closer, she channels the combined power of the relic, Andarna, and Tairn. The energy builds to a blinding crescendo, casting the sanctuary in a brilliant light. The Venin recoil in fear, their magic unraveling in the presence of such overwhelming force. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, with Violet at the brink of unleashing the sanctuary's full power. The tension, action, and emotional stakes reach a new peak, setting the stage for the story's climactic moments. Chapter 29. Unleashing the Light. The chapter begins with Violet standing at the heart of the sanctuary, the relic in her hands glowing with an intensity that bathes the entire chamber in light. The energy surges around her, drawing from her bond with Andarna and Tairn. The Venom forces outside press closer, their dark magic clashing against the sanctuary's protective aura. The tension is palpable as Violet takes a deep breath, ready to channel the relic's power in an unprecedented way. As Violet begins to unleash the relic's energy, the sanctuary reacts, its glowing obelisks resonating with the same frequency. Andarna and Tairn lend their strength to Violet, their shared connection allowing her to access power beyond her understanding. The narrative describes the overwhelming sensations Violet experiences, a blend of pain, clarity, and an almost euphoric sense of purpose. She feels the sanctuary's ancient energy coursing through her, guiding her actions. The Venom launch an all-out assault, their numbers seemingly endless. The squad fights valiantly to hold the line, with Rhiannon and Rhydok leading the defense alongside the poor mule scouts. The descriptions of the battle are vivid and intense, emphasizing the squad's determination and unity. Despite their efforts, the Venom's relentless attacks begin to take their toll, and it becomes clear that only Violet's actions can turn the tide. In a pivotal moment, Violet directs the relic's energy outward, creating a massive wave of light that engulfs the battlefield. The wave obliterates the Venom closest to the sanctuary, their dark magic unraveling in the presence of such pure power. The surviving Venom recoil, momentarily stunned. The energy released by the relic also strengthens the dragons and riders, renewing their resolve and giving them the edge needed to push back against the enemy. As the Venom regroup, Violet senses the sanctuary urging her to take one final step to secure their victory. She realizes that to fully activate the sanctuary's power, she must willingly bind herself to it, albeit temporarily. The decision weighs heavily on her, but Andarna reassures her that their bond will remain intact no matter what. Tairn adds his voice, expressing his unwavering support and pride in Violet's strength. The chapter concludes with Violet stepping into the center of the dais, allowing the sanctuary to fully connect with her. The light intensifies, creating a barrier that repels the Venom and protects her squad. The sanctuary's power surges outward, forcing the Venom into a full retreat. As the battlefield quiets, the squad looks on in awe, realizing that Violet has become a conduit for the sanctuary's ancient magic. The chapter ends with Violet glowing faintly, her connection to the sanctuary solidified, and her resolve stronger than ever. Chapter 30. The Cost of Power. The chapter begins in the quiet aftermath of the battle, with the sanctuary's radiant energy settling into a steady, calming hum. Violet stands at the center of the dais, glowing faintly as the sanctuary's power courses through her. Her squad watches in awe and concern, realizing the magnitude of what she has just achieved. The Venom have retreated, but the weight of Violet's connection to the sanctuary is unmistakable. A humming hum is heard. "How can you have taken my Onyx?" he says. She feels stronger, yet tethered, her bond with the relic and sanctuary now unbreakable. Violet steps down from the dais, supported by Andarna and Tairn, who radiate pride and protectiveness. Her squad rushes to her side, their relief at her survival palpable. Xaden is the first to embrace her, his emotions raw as he expresses his fears of losing her. Their bond deepens in this moment, as Violet reassures him that she remains herself despite the changes she's undergone. The scene is emotionally charged, highlighting the stakes of their relationship amidst the chaos. As the group regroups, the Guardian reappears, acknowledging Violet's actions and their success in protecting the sanctuary. The Guardian explains that Violet's temporary connection to the sanctuary has ensured its safety, but warns that the Venom will not give up easily. The sanctuary's power, now fully awakened, will continue to attract those who seek to exploit it. The group's victory is significant, but the battle for balance is far from over. As the night rounds out, Violet picks Nenawais up. The squad begins to take stock of the aftermath. The Poromil scouts report that the Venom forces have been severely weakened, and the immediate threat to the sanctuary has been neutralized. However, the cost of the battle is evident in their injuries and the loss of several allies. Violet takes time to mourn these sacrifices, her resolve to honor their memory strengthens. Violet and Andarna discuss the sanctuary's significance and the role of the seventh breed. Andarna's confidence grows as she realizes that her abilities are key to restoring balance to their world. Their bond deepens. with Andarna expressing her gratitude for Violet's willingness to risk everything for her and the sanctuary. This moment underscores the importance of their partnership and sets the stage for their shared journey forward. The chapter concludes with the squad deciding their next steps. While the immediate danger has passed, they know their mission is far from over. The sanctuary remains a beacon of hope and power, but it also represents a new target for their enemies. Violet's connection to the sanctuary has changed her both physically and emotionally, and she prepares to face the challenges ahead with newfound strength. The chapter blends reflection, character growth, and foreshadowing, setting the stage for the next phase of their journey. Chapter 30. Hunts Forward. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad gather within the sanctuary, taking a moment to recover and reflect on their journey so far. The relic, now dormant in Violet's possession, still emits a faint glow, a constant reminder of the immense power they have tapped into. The sanctuary hums softly, its energy seemingly in tune with Violet, Andarna, and Tairn. The squad's quiet camaraderie contrasts sharply with the battles they've endured, offering a rare sense of peace. The Guardian approaches the group, acknowledging their bravery and sacrifices in defending the sanctuary. It shares additional insights into the history of the seventh breed and the sanctuary's purpose. The sanctuary was designed not only as a refuge but as a conduit for balance in the world, a place where dragons and their riders could unite to counter corruption and chaos. Violet absorbs this knowledge, feeling the weight of her role as a key figure in this legacy. As the group prepares to leave the sanctuary, Violet and Andarna share a heartfelt moment. Andarna, now more confident in her abilities, expresses gratitude for Violet's unwavering support and willingness to protect her kind. Their bond has deepened into something unshakable, built on trust, love, and shared purpose. The scene is both touching and empowering, showcasing the strength of their partnership and the critical role it will play in the challenges to come. In Thanksgiving, Carrie, Evan's uncle, thanks him for her partnership in caring for him. Kimberly, Gerald, and Dan. The narrative shifts to the squad's preparations for their next steps. Rhiannon and Rhydok strategize with the Poromil scouts about how to use their victory to rally other factions in the fight against the Venant. The tension within the group has lessened, replaced by a renewed sense of unity and determination. Xaden, ever protective of Violet, discusses the risks of her connection to the sanctuary, but she reassures him of her strength and resolve. As they prepare to depart, the Guardian offers Violet one final piece of wisdom. The sanctuary's power is both a blessing and a responsibility. The relic is a key to wielding that power, but must be protected at all costs. The Guardian also hints that the sanctuary is not the only one of its kind, suggesting that there are other ancient places tied to the seventh read that could aid in their fight. But this revelation ignites hope and a sense of purpose within the group. The chapter concludes with the squad leaving the sanctuary, stepping back into the harsh reality of their world. The mountains loom behind them, a reminder of what they've achieved and what they've left behind. Violet leads the group, her connection to the sanctuary giving her a quiet confidence. The narrative ends on a note of resilience and anticipation as the group looks toward their next destination and the battles that lie ahead. Chapter 32. The Shadow of Pursuit. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad descending from the sanctuary's mountains, the faint glow of the relic in her possession still visible through the dawn mist. The terrain is harsh and the group moves cautiously, knowing the Venin forces may still be tracking them. The sanctuary feels distant now, but its significance lingers in their minds, fueling their resolve to continue the fight. Violet carries the weight of the relic and its revelations, her thoughts consumed with how to protect it while harnessing its power. As the group navigates through narrow passes and rocky slopes, Andarna senses a distant yet familiar presence. She warns Violet that something or someone is watching them. The squad immediately heightens their alertness, scanning their surroundings for signs of danger. Tension builds as shadows flit across the ridges, their pursuers remaining just out of sight. Violet and Rhiannon lead the group in forming a defensive strategy, ensuring that they can act quickly if ambushed. Midway through their descent, the group encounters signs of Venin activity, a small camp recently abandoned with traces of dark magic lingering in the air. The discovery confirms their suspicions that they are being hunted. Violet's leadership shines as she reassures her squad, urging them to stay focused and united. Her bond with Andarna and Tairn provides her with a sense of clarity. The narrative shifts to an ambush as the Venin forces spring their trap. The attack is swift and coordinated, forcing the squad into a fierce battle on the treacherous slopes. The confined space makes maneuvering difficult for the dragons, and the venin use the terrain to their advantage. Violet, wielding the relic's power, channels a wave of lightning that temporarily halts the assault, giving her squad a chance to regroup. The descriptions of the battle are vivid and intense, highlighting the squad's bravery and resourcefulness. As the battle rages on, Andarna displays a new ability, a burst of light energy that disorients the venin and creates a brief window for the squad to counterattack. The moment showcases Andarna's growing confidence and her unique connection to the relic. Violet senses the toll this power takes on Andarna, deepening her resolve to protect her dragon and ensure they succeed in their mission. The chapter concludes with the squad narrowly escaping the ambush, their pursuers momentarily thwarted but not defeated. The group presses onward, bruised but determined, their bond stronger after yet another trial. Violet reflects on the challenges ahead, her connection to the relic and her dragons giving her a renewed sense of purpose. The tension and stakes remain high as the narrative propels forward, blending action, strategy, and emotional depth. Chapter 33, A Fragile Alliance. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad making their way to a hidden forest clearing after narrowly escaping the venin ambush. The atmosphere is tense as the group catches their breath and takes stock of their injuries. The glow of the relic in Violet's possession continues to pulsate faintly, a constant reminder of its power and the danger it attracts. Despite their exhaustion, the group remains focused on their mission and the challenges that lie ahead. As they set up camp for the night, the Poromial scouts report that Venin forces are regrouping nearby. This revelation prompts a heated discussion within the squad. Some members, including Rihanna, argue that they need to push forward immediately, while others, like Rydok, suggest that they take time to recover and plan their next move. Violet steps in to mediate, using her leadership skills to calm tensions and unify the group around a strategy. The narrative shifts to Violet's growing connection with Andarna and Tairn. Andarna's newfound abilities and her connection to the relic have strengthened her bond with Violet, but they have also introduced new challenges. Andarna struggles to control the surges of energy she feels, and Violet reassures her, promising that they will navigate this new phase together. Their bond deepens as Violet reflects on the sacrifices they've made and the trust they've built. The tension within the group is compounded by the arrival of an unexpected ally, a high-ranking Poromial commander who has come to assess the situation. The commander is skeptical of Violet and her squad, questioning their ability to protect the relic and fulfill their mission. The exchange is tense, with Violet standing her ground and defending her team. Her determination and conviction earn the commander's grudging respect, solidifying a fragile but important alliance. As the group prepares to leave the clearing, Andarna senses something unusual, a faint but distinct pulse of energy that seems to echo the relic. The group decides to investigate, led by Violet and Violet's instincts. They discover a hidden grove filled with ancient symbols and faint traces of the Seventh Breed's magic. The discovery reignites hope within the group, as it suggests they are on the right path and may uncover more about the relic's purpose. The chapter concludes with the group setting out once again, their unity bolstered by the discovery and the fragile alliance with the Poromial commander. Violet reflects on the growing stakes of their mission and the sacrifices they may still need to make. The chapter blends action, character development, and intrigue, deepening the narrative and propelling the story toward its next major revelation. Chapter 34, The Echoes of the Grove. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad moving deeper into the hidden grove they discovered in the previous chapter. The air is thick with magic and the glow of the relic intensifies, resonating with the grove's energy. Andarna's excitement grows as she senses the remnants of her kind's presence lingering in the space. The squad is filled with a mix of awe and unease, recognizing the significance of the grove and the potential dangers it holds. As they explore the grove, they come across intricate carvings on the trees and stones depicting the history of the Seventh Breed. The images reveal a time when the Seventh Breed acted as stewards of balance, working with dragons and riders to prevent the rise of corruption. Violet and Andarna, with the help of the Poromial scouts, begin deciphering the carvings. They uncover details about the relic's true purpose. It is not just a key, but a conduit for restoring balance, capable of purging corruption from the world. While studying the carvings, the group discovers an ancient altar at the grove center. The altar hums with dormant energy, its surface covered in faded runes that Andarna recognizes. Violet senses that the relic is meant to interact with the altar, and with her squad's support, she places it in the center. The relic reacts immediately, emitting a beam of light that activates the grove's energy. The narrative vividly describes this surge of power and the grove coming to life, its trees glowing faintly as if awakening after centuries of slumber. The activation of the altar triggers a vision for Violet and Andarna. They see a glimpse of the seventh breed's final stand against the forces of corruption, a desperate battle that ended in their near extinction. The vision reveals the immense sacrifices made by the seventh breed and their riders to protect the world, leaving Violet deeply moved and determined to honor their legacy. The emotional impact of the vision strengthens Violet's resolve to protect the relic and fulfill her mission. The squad's moment of discovery is interrupted by the arrival of Venan forces, drawn to the grove by the relic's activation. The tension rises as Violet and her team prepare for another battle, their position compromised and the stakes higher than ever. The Venan's appearance underscores the constant threat they face. Even in moments of revelation and hope, Violet quickly organizes her squad, positioning them to defend the grove and its secrets. The chapter concludes with the Venan advancing, their dark magic clashing with the grove's protective energy. Violet stands at the forefront, her bond with Andarna and Tairn stronger than ever as they prepare to face the enemy. The chapter blends discovery, tension, and emotional stakes, setting the stage for another intense confrontation while deepening the story's themes of sacrifice, legacy, and resilience. Chapter 35, The Battle for the Grove. The chapter begins with the Venan forces advancing into the grove, their dark magic clashing violently with the protective energy awakened by the relic and the altar. The contrast between the grove's glowing, serene light and the Venan's shadowy presence creates a vivid and intense atmosphere. Violet quickly takes charge, rallying her squad and the Pyramidal scouts to form a defensive perimeter around the altar. The stakes are higher than ever as the grove represents not just a place of power, but also a symbol of hope. The battle erupts in a chaotic flurry of magic claws and coordinated strikes. The squad fights fiercely, their unity and training shining through as they counter the Venan's relentless attacks. Andarna and Tairn work seamlessly with Violet, their bond allowing them to anticipate each other's movements. Violet's lightning strikes, amplified by the relic's energy, cut through the Venan forces, creating a dazzling display of power. The narrative captures the intensity of the battle, emphasizing the squad's bravery and determination. Amid the chaos, the Venan deploy a new tactic, using their corrupted magic to disrupt the grove's protective energy. Their spells target the glowing trees and the altar itself, threatening to destabilize the entire area. Violet realizes the urgency of their situation and takes a bold risk, channeling more of the relic's energy to strengthen the grove's defenses. The strain on her body and mind is immense, but her resolve remains unshaken. The turning point in the battle comes when Andarna reveals a new ability, likely awakened by her connection to the grove and the relic. She unleashes a powerful wave of light energy that disorients the Venan and temporarily nullifies their magic. The squad seizes the opportunity to launch a coordinated counterattack, driving the Venan forces back. The descriptions of this moment are breathtaking, highlighting Andarna's growth in her critical role in the fight. As the battle nears its conclusion, Violet notices that the Venan are targeting the altar with increasing desperation, realizing its importance. She channels all her strength into a final, decisive attack, using the relic and her bond with Andarna and Tairn to unleash a surge of lightning that obliterates the remaining Venan and reinforces the grove's protective energy. The aftermath is quiet, yet heavy with the realization of what they've just accomplished. The chapter concludes with the squad regrouping, their exhaustion palpable, but their spirits bolstered by their victory. The grove, though damaged, remains intact, its energy pulsing steadily as if in gratitude. Violet reflects on the sacrifices made and the challenges that still lie ahead, her determination renewed by the knowledge that their mission is far from over. The chapter expertly combines action, suspense, and emotional depth, setting the stage for the next phase of the story. Chapter 36. Rebuilding Strength. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad recovering in the grove after their hard-fought victory against the Venan. The serene glow of the grove's energy contrasts with the group's exhaustion, offering a moment of respite. The squad tends to their injuries while the Pyramidal scouts patrol the perimeter to ensure no remaining threats linger. Despite the battle's toll, there is a renewed sense of purpose and unity among the team. As the squad regroups, Violet takes a quiet moment to reflect on the battle and the discoveries they've made. She holds the relic, its glow now steady and calm, and feels a deep connection to the grove's energy. Her bond with Andarna and Tairn has strengthened even further, and she recognizes the pivotal role they will play in the battles to come. Violet's resolve to protect the grove and the legacy of the seventh breed deepens as she contemplates their next steps. The narrative shifts to the guardian of the sanctuary, who reappears to acknowledge the group's success. The guardian explains that the grove's activation has sent a ripple of energy across the world, awakening other ancient sites tied to the seventh breed. This revelation fills Violet with both hope and concern, as these sites could serve as beacons for allies, for targets for the venom. The squad begins to grasp the larger scope of their mission, realizing that their journey is far from over. Amid the Guardian's explanation, Andarna shares her insights about the grove's purpose. She reveals that the grove is not only a sanctuary, but also a source of replenishment for the seventh breed's power. This discovery sparks hope within the group, as it suggests that Andarna's abilities, and by extension the relic's power, can continue to grow. The scene underscores the importance of Andarna's role and her evolving connection to Violet. As the group prepares to leave the grove, tensions arise about their next course of action. The Paromial scouts suggest rallying reinforcements, while Rhiannon and Redoc advocate for finding the next sanctuary as quickly as possible. Violet steps in to mediate, carefully weighing the risks and benefits of each option. Her leadership shines as she makes the difficult decision to pursue the sanctuaries, understanding that their power is the key to defeating the venom. The chapter concludes with the squad setting out once again, leaving the grove behind but carrying its energy and lessons with them. Violet leads the group with quiet determination, the relic pulsing faintly at her side. The chapter masterfully blends recovery, introspection, and forward momentum, setting the stage for the squad's continued journey and the challenges they will face in uncovering the truth about the sanctuaries and the seventh breed. Chapter 37, Into the Unknown. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad leaving the grove, their path leading toward the next sanctuary hinted at by the Guardian. The atmosphere is tense but determined as the group treks through unfamiliar terrain. The relic continues to emit a steady glow, acting as both a guide and a reminder of their mission's stakes. Andarna's growing strength provides reassurance to Violet, though her dragon's new abilities remain a mystery that Violet is eager to understand. Gird the marble. As they journey onward, the squad encounters a stark change in the environment. The air grows colder, and the landscape becomes increasingly desolate, with jagged cliffs and barren plains stretching before them. The descriptions of the terrain reflect the challenges ahead, heightening the tension as the group presses forward. Violet's leadership is tested as the squad navigates treacherous paths, avoiding natural hazards and potential ambushes. Midway through the journey, Andarna senses a faint pulse of energy similar to what they felt in the grove. The squad stops to investigate, uncovering an ancient waypoint marked with carvings similar to those at the sanctuary and grove. The waypoint provides vital clues about the sanctuary's network, revealing that they were once connected by magical channels designed to maintain balance across the world. This discovery fuels the group's hope and determination to continue their search. However, the waypoint also reveals a warning etched into the stone: corruption follows where balance falters. This cryptic message unsettles the group, particularly as Andarna notes that the energy around the waypoint feels strained, as if the balance is already under attack. Violet resolves to push onward, understanding that the venom are likely targeting these ancient sites to disrupt the sanctuary's power and tip the world into chaos. As they leave the waypoint, the group encounters a sudden and violent storm. The narrative vividly describes the gale-force winds and icy rain that test both the riders and their dragons. The storm becomes a metaphor for the squad's internal struggles, as doubts and fears bubble to the surface. Rhiannon and Rhydoc voice their concerns about the risks of pursuing the sanctuaries, while Xaden reminds the group of what they've already accomplished. Violet steps in to unify the team, her quiet strength reassuring them of their purpose. The chapter concludes with the squad emerging from the storm, battered but resolute. In the distance, they spot the faint outline of their destination, a jagged peak illuminated by an otherworldly glow. The sight fills Violet with a mix of dread and anticipation, knowing that what lies ahead will test them in ways they cannot yet imagine. The chapter blends tension, discovery, and character development, propelling the narrative toward its next major confrontation. Chapter 38, The Mountain's Veil. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad approaching the jagged glowing peak that Andarna has identified as the next sanctuary. The relic in Violet's possession pulses faintly, its rhythm aligning with the glow emanating from the mountain. The closer they get, the heavier the air becomes, as if the magic surrounding the sanctuary resists their presence. The narrative captures the tension among the group, their anticipation mingling with unease. As they begin their ascent, the squad encounters the remnants of an ancient pathway carved into the mountainside. The path is narrow and treacherous, forcing the riders to dismount and proceed on foot. The descriptions of the terrain emphasize the physical challenge of the climb, with loose rocks and sheer cliffs testing their endurance and coordination. The dragons follow closely, their instincts heightening the group's awareness of potential dangers. Midway through their climb, the group encounters a strange phenomenon, a shimmering veil of light blocking their path. Andarna, visibly intrigued, senses that the veil is a protective barrier designed to guard the sanctuary from outsiders. Violet approaches cautiously, holding the relic aloft. The relic reacts, its glow intensifying and creating a ripple effect in the veil. Andarna steps forward, her connection to the sanctuary allowing her to safely guide the group through the barrier. On the other side of the veil, the group finds themselves in a hidden valley filled with lush greenery and crystalline pools. The sanctuary's energy is palpable, creating a serene and otherworldly atmosphere. However, the beauty of the valley is overshadowed by signs of recent disturbance. Scorched earth and faint traces of dark magic suggest that Venin forces have already been here. The discovery heightens the group's urgency, as they realize the sanctuaries are under active threat. As the squad explores the valley, they find a series of obelisks similar to those in the first sanctuary. The obelisks are damaged, their glow dim and flickering, and Darna senses their energy is incomplete, and the group concludes that the sanctuary's power has been weakened. Violet uses the relic to investigate further, discovering that the sanctuary's magic is being siphoned away, likely by the Venin to fuel their corruption. Derek Darna. The chapter concludes with the group finding a hidden entrance to the sanctuary's core, where the source of its power resides. The entrance is guarded by ancient wards that Andarna is able to bypass with Violet's help. The group prepares to enter, knowing that whatever they find inside will determine the fate of the sanctuary. The chapter blends discovery, suspense, and foreshadowing, setting the stage for a pivotal moment in the narrative. Chapter 39, The Core of the Sanctuary. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad stepping into the sanctuary's core, a vast cavernous chamber illuminated by glowing veins of magical energy running through the walls and ceiling. The air is thick with power, almost suffocating in its intensity. Andarna reacts strongly to the energy, her scales shimmering faintly as she moves closer to the center of the chamber. The squad follows cautiously, their eyes scanning the surroundings for signs of danger. At the heart of the chamber, the group discovers a massive crystalline structure, pulsating faintly as if it were alive. Andarna identifies it as the sanctuary's core, the source of its power and connection to the seventh breed. However, the core's glow is dim and cracks mar its surface, suggesting it has been compromised. The group realizes that the Venin's corruption has reached this sacred space, threatening its ability to maintain balance in the world. As Violet examines the core, she senses the relic reacting to its energy, drawing her closer. The guardian of the sanctuary appears, its presence both commanding and serene, and confirms the group's fears. The sanctuary's power is fading due to the Venin's siphoning. The guardian reveals that the core must be restored before it collapses entirely, an event that would send shockwaves through the network of sanctuaries and leave the world vulnerable to corruption. The squad deliberates on how to repair the core, with Andarna suggesting that the relic can channel enough energy to stabilize it temporarily. However, the Guardian warns that this process will require Violet to directly interface with the core, an act that could permanently bind her to the sanctuary. The weight of this revelation sends ripples through the group, with Xaden and Rhiannon expressing their fears for Violet's safety. The scene is emotionally charged, as Violet considers the immense sacrifice she might need to make. Before a decision can be made, the Venin forces arrive, breaching the sanctuary's wards and pouring into the chamber. The squad quickly forms a defensive line around the core, their dragons taking strategic positions to repel the attack. The battle is intense and chaotic, with the confined space amplifying the stakes. Violet's leadership shines as she coordinates the squad's efforts, wielding the relic's energy to hold back the enemy while Andarna and Tairn fight alongside her. The chapter concludes with Violet making a bold decision. As the Venin press closer, she steps forward and places the relic into a slot at the base of the core, initiating the restoration process. The sanctuary reacts instantly, its energy surging outward in a blinding flash of light. The Venin are thrown back and the squad watches in awe as the core begins to heal. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, with Violet enveloped in the sanctuary's energy, her fate uncertain, but her resolve unshaken. Chapter 40. The Bond Forged in Light. The chapter begins with Violet surrounded by the sanctuary's energy, her body suspended in a glowing field of light emanating from the core. The narrative captures her sensations vividly, an overwhelming mix of pain, clarity, and a deep connection to the sanctuary's ancient magic. Andarna and Tairn remain nearby, their bond with Violet allowing them to feel the energy surging through her. The rest of the squad watches with a mix of awe and fear, unsure of what will happen next. As the core's energy floods the chamber, the sanctuary begins to stabilize. The cracks in the crystalline structure slowly mend, and the dim glow strengthens into a radiant brilliance. Violet senses the relic merging its energy with the core, acting as a bridge to restore its balance. The Guardian appears, confirming that the process is working, but warning that Violet's connection to the sanctuary will leave her permanently altered. Outside the core's light field, the battle with the Venin continues. The squad fights valiantly, using the sanctuary's revitalized energy to their advantage. The dragon's attacks grow stronger, and the Venin's dark magic begins to falter under the pressure. Rhiannon and Redrock lead coordinated strikes, while Sadin holds the line, his focus on protecting Violet as she completes the restoration. The battle's intensity is palpable, with every moment feeling like a life-or-math struggle. Inside the light, Violet experiences visions of the Seventh Breed's history and their role in maintaining balance across the world. She sees the sanctuaries in their prime, interconnected by streams of magic that ensured stability. These visions fill her with a sense of purpose and responsibility, solidifying her resolve to protect the sanctuaries and their legacy. Andarna, through their bond, shares in these revelations, her confidence and power growing with each moment. As the restoration reaches its peak, the sanctuary releases a massive surge of energy that floods the entire chamber. The Venin forces are obliterated, their corrupted magic unable to withstand the purity of the sanctuary's power. The squad is momentarily blinded by the light, but when it fades, they see Violet standing at the core, her body glowing faintly. She is changed. Her connection to the sanctuary has deepened, and her bond with Andarna and Tairn feels stronger than ever. The chapter concludes with the squad regrouping around Violet, their relief at her survival evident. The Guardian praises their bravery and confirms that the sanctuary is now stable, but warns that the Venin will continue to target the remaining sanctuaries. Violet, though visibly exhausted, vows to continue the fight, her determination unwavering. The chapter masterfully blends action, revelation, and emotional depth, propelling the narrative toward its next challenges. Chapter 14. A World Awakened. The chapter begins in the aftermath of the sanctuary's restoration. The once dim crystalline core now glows with steady brilliance, and the energy coursing through the sanctuary is palpable. Violet, though visibly changed, stands resolute, the faint glow from her bond with the sanctuary lingering in her eyes and skin. The squad gathers around her, their relief and admiration evident, though questions about her transformation remain unspoken. The Guardian of the sanctuary approaches Violet and the group, expressing gratitude for their actions. It reveals that the sanctuary's stabilization has sent a ripple of energy through the network of sanctuaries, reawakening other ancient sites connected to the Seventh Breed. This revelation ignites hope within the group, as it signifies that the balance of power can still be restored. However, the Guardian warns that the Venin, sensing this awakening, will redouble their efforts to disrupt the sanctuaries. As the group prepares to leave the sanctuary, Violet reflects on the visions she experienced during her connection to the core. These glimpses of the past, of thriving sanctuaries, powerful bonds between dragons and riders, and the Seventh Breed's sacrifices, fuel her determination. She shares some of these insights with the squad, emphasizing the importance of their mission and the role each of them plays in protecting the sanctuaries. 1. Deltoids are the people who care for the Scorps, as much as our parents, who are also our parents who are human. The narrative shifts to the squad's journey back down the mountain. The terrain feels less hostile now, as if the sanctuary's energy has extended beyond its walls. Andarna's growing abilities become evident as she senses faint traces of other sanctuaries' magic in the distance, guiding the group's next steps. The bond between Violet and her dragons deepens, their shared purpose and connection to the sanctuaries strengthening with each passing moment. Tensions briefly surface as the Poromiel scouts raise concerns about how the other factions will react to the sanctuary's awakening. They fear that rival groups may seek to exploit the sanctuary's power for their own gain. This conversation highlights the complex political landscape the squad must navigate, adding layers of intrigue and uncertainty to their journey. Violet reassures the group, her leadership bolstered by her experiences in the sanctuary. The chapter concludes with the squad setting up camp at the base of the mountain, taking a moment to rest before planning their next move. Violet, now more attuned to the sanctuary's energy, senses a distant pulse, calling her to the next site. The glow of the relic remains steady, a beacon guiding them forward. The chapter ends on a note of quiet anticipation, blending reflection, discovery, and foreshadowing, as the story propels toward its next major developments. Chapter 42: Signs of Corruption. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad breaking camp at the base of the mountain, preparing to follow the relic's steady glow toward the next sanctuary. The air is brisk and a sense of purpose drives the group as they march onward. The Poromil scouts, impressed by Violet's leadership and the squad's resilience, pledge their continued support, strengthening the fragile alliance. Tensions remain, but the shared mission unites them as they move deeper into uncharted territory. And Mrs. Devereux, as her friend everyone, may have her name ring, but as a whole, as the group navigates a vast, desolate plain, Andarna begins to sense something unsettling, a distortion in the magic surrounding the area. Violet feels the relic pulse faintly in response, as if warning of danger ahead. The group remains on high alert, scanning the horizon for any signs of the venin. The descriptions of the barren landscape create an ominous atmosphere, emphasizing the squad's vulnerability as they press forward. Midway through the journey, the group stumbles upon the ruins of a village that has been completely ravaged by venin forces. The charred remains of buildings and the faint traces of dark magic lingering in the air paint a grim picture of the destruction. Violet and her squad take time to investigate, piecing together evidence of the venin's presence and their growing boldness. The scene is emotionally charged as the group reflects on the cost of the venin's corruption. The squad's exploration leads them to a troubling discovery: a fragment of one of the sanctuary obelisks buried among the ruins. The Guardian's earlier warning about the sanctuaries being targeted by the venin resonates deeply, fueling the group's urgency to protect the remaining sites. Andarna senses that the obelisk's energy is faint, but not entirely gone, suggesting that the sanctuary it belongs to is still active, but weakened. In the fields, the Guardians carry out puny worships of their chosen. John is still a little cautious, but weakened. The revelation drives the group to quicken their pace. As night falls, the group sets up a temporary camp near the ruins. The tension is palpable as they discuss their next steps. Rhiannon and Rydak advocate for scouting the surrounding area to ensure the venin aren't nearby, while Satan suggests focusing on reaching the next sanctuary as quickly as possible. Violet mediates the discussion, her calm yet firm leadership bringing the group to consensus. They decide to scout briefly before resuming their journey at first light. The chapter concludes with Violet standing watch while the others rest. The relic glows faintly at her side, its steady pulse a reminder of the mission's stakes. Violet reflects on the destruction they've witnessed and the challenges that lie ahead, her resolve growing stronger with each passing moment. The chapter masterfully blends tension, discovery, and emotional depth, setting the stage for the next phase of their journey. Chapter 43: Shadows Closing In. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad setting out from the ruins at first light. The relic's steady pulse guides their path, but the group remains wary after their grim discovery of the damaged sanctuary obelisk. The Poromil scouts report faint traces of venin activity in the area, heightening the tension as they move deeper into the plains. But Violet, now more attuned to the sanctuary's energy, senses a subtle disturbance in the magic surrounding them, as if corruption lingers just out of sight. As the group presses forward, the terrain shifts to rocky foothills dotted with dense patches of forest. The squad navigates cautiously, knowing the uneven landscape could mask ambushes. Andarna grows restless, her instincts telling her that danger is near. Violet, trusting her dragon's intuition, halts the group to reassess their route. The decision proves wise, as they discover fresh tracks leading toward a narrow valley, evidence that venin forces may be nearby. The narrative builds tension as the group deliberates on their next move. Rhiannon suggests avoiding the valley altogether, while Xaden argues that they must investigate to understand the venin's movements. Violet carefully considers both perspectives, ultimately deciding to send a small scouting party into the valley, while the rest of the group fortifies their position. This decision highlights her growth as a leader, balancing caution with the need for action. The scouts return with troubling news. The valley contains a venin encampment, and it appears they are attempting to corrupt the area's magic. The group quickly devises a plan to neutralize the threat before the venom can advance their efforts. Violet takes charge, organizing the squad into strike teams and ensuring they leverage the terrain to their advantage. The scene emphasizes the squad's unity and their trust in Violet's leadership. The attack on the Venin encampment is swift and decisive. The squad uses the element of surprise to disrupt the Venin's ritual, and the battle that follows is intense. Violet's lightning-wielding abilities are pivotal, her strikes cutting through the Venin's defenses and destabilizing their dark magic. Andarna and Tairn fight fiercely alongside her, their bond with Violet enabling them to counter the Venin's attacks with precision and power. End of poem. This is your abolition. This is your abolition. Lightning-wielding abilities are pivotal to the Venin's attacks with precision and power. The descriptions of the battle are vivid, capturing the chaos and stakes of the confrontation. The chapter concludes with the Venin forces defeated and their encampment destroyed. However, the group discovers evidence that the Venin were targeting another sanctuary further south. The revelation fills the squad with urgency as they realize their mission is becoming a race against time. Violet reflects on the battle and the growing stakes, her determination to protect the sanctuaries stronger than ever. The chapter masterfully balances action, suspense, and character development, propelling the narrative toward its next critical moment. Chapter 44. The Race South. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad hastily leaving the remnants of the Venin encampment. The evidence they found points to the Venin targeting a sanctuary further south, and the urgency of their mission intensifies. The relic pulses with a rhythmic glow, guiding their path while reminding them of the stakes. Violet feels the weight of her responsibility as leader, knowing that failure could tip the balance of power in favor of the Venin. The group traverses a series of rugged foothills and narrow trails, pushing their endurance to its limits. The Poromiel scouts prove invaluable, using their knowledge of the terrain to chart the fastest route. Tensions rise within the squad as exhaustion sets in, but Violet keeps them focused with her calm and resolute leadership. The descriptions of the harsh landscape emphasize the physical and emotional toll of the journey. Midway through their travels, Andarna begins to sense a disturbance in the magical energy of the region. She warns Violet that the corruption from the Venin is spreading, creating instability in the surrounding environment. Violet relays this to the group, and they adjust their pace, understanding that every moment counts. The narrative captures the growing tension as the squad races against time to reach the sanctuary before the Venin can do more damage. The group encounters a small farming village along their path, its residents visibly shaken by recent events. The villagers report strange occurrences, wilting crops, livestock falling ill, and eerie shadows seen at night. These signs of the Venin's influence confirm the severity of the situation. Violet takes a moment to reassure the villagers, promising to protect the sanctuaries and restore balance. The interaction highlights her compassion and determination, adding emotional depth to her character. As the group prepares to leave the village, Andarna detects another faint pulse of sanctuary energy, this time closer than expected. The relic reacts, its glow intensifying and pointing toward a hidden valley obscured by dense forest. The group realizes this could be a previously unrecorded sanctuary, one the Venin might already be targeting. They decide to investigate, knowing it could provide a critical insight or lead to another confrontation. The chapter concludes with the squad entering the dense forest, their nerves heightened by the knowledge that Venin forces could be lying in wait. The relic's glow illuminates their path, but the oppressive atmosphere of the forest weighs heavily on them. Violet reflects on the challenges they've faced and the sacrifices they've made, her resolve unshaken as she leads the group forward. The chapter ends on a note of suspense and anticipation, blending discovery, tension, and determination to propel the narrative forward. Chapter 45. The Hidden Sanctuary. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad navigating the dense forest, guided by the relic's intensified glow. The air grows heavier with magic as they approach the hidden valley, Andarna detected. The squad moves cautiously, their dragons staying alert for signs of Venin activity. The descriptions of the forest are vivid, capturing its eerie beauty and the oppressive tension that hangs over the group as they push forward. The river ends up hooing them away, and their party is well taken. Natalia conferences the leaders on their next setup of their journey. As they enter the valley, the relic pulses sharply, signaling their proximity to a sanctuary. The group discovers a massive stone archway hidden beneath layers of moss and vines, its surface covered in ancient carvings similar to those they've seen before. Andarna, visibly drawn to the structure, confirms that this is indeed a sanctuary, one that has remained untouched for centuries. The squad feels a mix of awe and urgency, knowing that the Venene could arrive at any moment. Inside the sanctuary, the group finds a chamber with an obelisk at its center, much like the ones in previous sanctuaries. However, this obelisk is cracked and dim, its energy faint and erratic. Violet approaches cautiously, sensing the relic's connection to the obelisk. Andarna begins to decipher the carvings surrounding the chamber, revealing that this sanctuary served as a nexus for channeling magic to other sanctuaries in the network. Its weakened state suggests that the Venene's corruption has disrupted its function. Before the group can fully assess the situation, Andarna detects a faint, malicious presence nearby. The squad quickly fortifies the sanctuary, preparing for an attack. The tension builds as they hear faint sounds echoing through the valley, whispers carried on the wind, growing louder and more ominous. The Venene forces have found them, and their arrival threatens to undo the sanctuary's fragile stability. The battle begins with the Venene launching a surprise attack, their dark magic clashing with the sanctuary's weakened defenses. Violet and her squad spring into action, using the chamber's architecture and their dragon's abilities to counter the assault. Violet channels the relic's energy into the obelisk, attempting to strengthen its defenses while fending off the Venene. The fight is chaotic and intense, with every member of the squad playing a critical role in holding the line. The chapter concludes with Violet managing to activate the obelisk, its light surging outward and temporarily driving back the Venene. The sanctuary's energy stabilizes, though the obelisk remains fragile. The Venene retreat for now, but the group knows they will return in greater numbers. Violet reflects on the battle and the sanctuary's significance, her determination to protect it and the others in the network stronger than ever. So here is the battle that we first started. The sanctuary is broken in two. The sanctuary is submerged in the network and stronger than ever. The chapter blends action, discovery, and suspense, setting the stage for the escalating conflict. Chapter 46, The Venene's Warning. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad regrouping after their intense battle to defend the sanctuary. The obelisk, though activated, remains cracked and unstable, its energy pulsing faintly. The squad takes a moment to recover, tending to their injuries and assessing the damage. The sanctuary's atmosphere feels heavier, as though the fight has strained its already fragile magic. Andarna stays close to the obelisk, her shimmering presence a comforting reminder of their progress. Andarna stays close to the obelisk, her shimmering presence a comforting reminder of their progress. As Violet examines the obelisk, she notices faint inscriptions glowing along its surface, partially obscured by the cracks. With Andarna's help, she deciphers the carvings, which reveal a grim truth. The sanctuaries were designed not only to channel balance, but also to act as fail-safes against catastrophic corruption. If a sanctuary becomes too damaged, it risks destabilizing the entire network, amplifying the Venene's influence rather than containing it. This revelation sends a ripple of unease through the group. The narrative shifts as the poor mule scouts return with troubling news. They've discovered evidence that the Venene forces are regrouping nearby, their numbers far greater than anticipated. The scouts warn that the Venene are preparing for a large-scale assault on the sanctuary, likely intent on destroying it entirely. The squad is faced with a dire choice: stay and defend the sanctuary at great risk, or abandon it to preserve their strength for future battles. Violet, feeling the weight of her responsibility, decides they must stand their ground. As the group fortifies the sanctuary, tension builds within the squad. Rhiannon questions whether defending this sanctuary is worth the potential cost, while Rhysand expresses faith in Violet's leadership. The emotional stakes rise as the squad debates their next move, each member grappling with their fears and priorities. Violet steps in to unify the group, reminding them of the sanctuary's critical role in maintaining balance, and the sacrifices already made to protect them. The Venene launched their assault just before dawn, their dark magic rippling through the valley. The descriptions of the battle are vivid and chaotic, with the squad using every advantage the sanctuary offers to hold off the overwhelming enemy forces. Violet channels the relic's energy into the obelisk, strengthening its defenses and creating bursts of light that disorient the Venene. Andarna and Tairn fight fiercely alongside her, their bond with Violet growing stronger with each coordinated strike. The chapter concludes with a climactic moment. A Venene leader steps forward, exuding an aura of corruption far greater than anything the squad has faced before. This leader issues a chilling warning, declaring that the sanctuaries are already doomed and that the network's collapse is inevitable. The squad manages to drive the Venene forces back, but the leader's words linger, casting a shadow over their victory. Violet, though shaken, resolves to uncover the truth and protect the remaining sanctuaries at all costs. Chapter 47. The Weight of Words. The chapter begins in the quiet aftermath of the battle. The sanctuary is eerily still, its fragile energy a stark contrast to the chaos of the recent assault. Violet stands near the obelisk, replaying the Venin leader's warning in her mind. The sanctuaries are already doomed, and their collapse is inevitable. The words weigh heavily on her, creating a sense of urgency and doubt. The glow of the relic in her possession offers a faint reassurance, but its meaning is unclear. The squad regroups around the obelisk, their exhaustion evident. The Poromil scouts report that the Venian forces have retreated for now, but they are likely regrouping. The group debates their next move, with Rhiannon arguing that they should prioritize reaching the next sanctuary before it too is compromised. Xaden, however, suggests they need to fully secure this sanctuary before moving on. The tension highlights the difficult decisions Violet must make as a leader. Violet consults with the Guardian, who appears more solemn than before. The Guardian reveals that the sanctuaries are indeed interconnected and that the destabilization of one affects the entire network. However, the Guardian also emphasizes that the sanctuaries can still be saved if their core energies are restored. The revelation renews Violet's determination, but it also underscores the monumental challenge they face. The squad is now racing not just to protect the sanctuaries, but to repair the damage already done. The narrative shifts to Violet's bond with Andarna and Tairn, who provide both strength and perspective. Andarna, sensing Violet's inner turmoil, reassures her that their connection to the sanctuaries is a source of hope, not despair. Tairn adds his voice, urging Violet to trust in her instincts and the team she has built around her. These moments deepen Violet's resolve and highlight the importance of her bond with her dragons. As the group begins to fortify the sanctuary further, they discover a hidden chamber beneath the obelisk. Inside, they find an ancient map etched into the stone depicting the entire sanctuary network. The map reveals locations of previously unknown sanctuaries, as well as the ones they have already visited. It also shows the flow of energy between them, with the lines dimmed or broken in places where corruption has taken hold. This discovery is both a breakthrough and a sobering reminder of the scale of their mission. The chapter concludes with Violet standing before the obelisk, the map in hand and the relic glowing steadily at her side. She resolves to move quickly, understanding that time is their most precious resource. The squad, though weary, is united in their purpose. The chapter ends on a note of determination and anticipation, blending discovery, emotional depth, and the looming threat of the Venin to propel the story forward. Accomplish. Chapter 48. The Uncharted Path. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad gathering around the newly discovered map in the hidden chamber. The ancient etchings glow faintly, their magical energy resonating with the relic Violet carries. The map provides detailed locations of sanctuaries spread across the world, some of which appear dim or fragmented, indicating their weakened states. Violet feels the weight of the task ahead, knowing they must protect the sanctuaries while restoring the balance of the network. The group deliberates on their next steps. The nearest sanctuary marked on the map lies in a heavily forested region to the southeast, one known for its unpredictable weather and dangerous terrain. The Poromil scouts warn of Venin activity reported in the area, making the journey even more perilous. Despite the risks, Violet decides they must move quickly, understanding that hesitation could cost them the sanctuaries and their world. Her determination inspires the squad, even as doubts linger. As they leave the sanctuary, the group encounters a sudden change in the landscape. The air grows colder, and a strange mist begins to roll in, limiting visibility. Andarna, sensing the magic in the mist, warns Violet that it may be a residual effect of the sanctuary network's destabilization. The narrative vividly describes the eerie atmosphere, heightening the tension as the group moves cautiously through the obscured terrain. Midway through their journey, the squad discovers a small outpost abandoned by its residents. The outpost shows signs of a hasty evacuation, with scattered belongings and faint traces of Venin corruption left behind. The group investigates, piecing together evidence that the Venin passed through recently, likely en route to the same sanctuary they are heading toward. The discovery intensifies their urgency, and Violet resolves to quicken their pace despite the growing challenges. The narrative shifts to a reflective moment between Violet and Xaden. As they take a brief rest, Xaden expresses his concerns about the toll the mission is taking on Violet, both physically and emotionally. Their conversation is intimate and charged, revealing the depth of their connection and the mutual respect they've developed. Violet reassures Xaden of her resolve. acknowledging her fears, but emphasizing her belief in their purpose. As they prepare, Mumbles runs to them, exhausted and scared, but as they refer to their moment, the moment strengthens their bond and serves as a reminder of the personal stakes intertwined with their mission. The chapter concludes with the group reaching the edge of the forested region marked on the map. The mist grows denser, and the relic's glow intensifies, guiding them toward their destination. The tension is palpable as they prepare to enter the forest, knowing the venin may already be there. The chapter ends on a note of suspense and anticipation, blending discovery, emotional stakes, and the looming threat of the venin to propel the narrative forward. So this chapter pushes us, immediately flashes us to the day out. Chapter 49, Into the Veil. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad entering the dense, mist-shrouded forest that surrounds the next sanctuary. The relic's glow grows brighter as they move deeper, its pulsing rhythm acting as both a guide and a warning. The atmosphere is tense with the dense fog muffling sound and limiting visibility. The descriptions of the forest create an eerie sense of isolation as the group feels cut off from the world they know. The Andarna senses something amiss almost immediately. She warns Violet that the magic in the forest is distorted, as though the venin have begun corrupting it from within. This revelation heightens the squad's urgency, and Violet pushes them to move faster. The Poromiel scouts fan out to check for signs of venin activity, their experience in tracking proving invaluable. The tension among the group is palpable, with every rustle of leaves or snap of a branch putting them on edge. As the squad advances, they come across traces of venin presence, scorched patches of earth, twisted vegetation, and faint trails of dark magic lingering in the air. Violet's instincts sharpen, and she orders the group to maintain a tight formation. The dragons remain vigilant, their senses attuned to the unnatural magic saturating the forest. The narrative captures the growing danger, blending vivid imagery with the squad's rising anxiety. The dragons sprinkle scorched patches of venin presence onto the forest, and as one of the dragons advances, a wolf disappears into the next. Midway through the forest, the group encounters a small clearing where the relic's glow intensifies dramatically. At the center of the clearing stands a broken obelisk, its cracks radiating dark energy. Andarna identifies it as part of the sanctuary's protective network, damaged by the venin's corruption. Violet approaches cautiously, feeling the relic resonate with the obelisk. She places her hand on its surface and experiences a surge of visions, images of the sanctuary's history, and the venin's attempts to destroy it. The visions provide critical insights. The sanctuary's core lies further ahead, hidden beneath layers of magical defenses that the venin are attempting to breach. Violet understands that they must reach the core before the venin succeed, but the strain of the visions leaves her momentarily weakened. Xaden and Rhiannon help her recover, their concern highlighting the deep bonds within the squad. Violet's resolve strengthens as she shares the urgency of their mission with the group. The chapter concludes with the squad pressing onward, the relic's glow now a steady beacon leading them toward the sanctuary's core. The forest seems to close in around them, the mist thickening and the magic growing heavier. Violet reflects on the stakes of their journey and the sacrifices they've made, her determination unshaken. The chapter ends with the group reaching the edge of another clearing, where the outlines of a massive structure begin to emerge through the fog. The narrative masterfully builds suspense, blending discovery, tension, and emotional depth. Chapter 50, The Heart of the Corruption. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad emerging from the dense mist into a wide clearing dominated by a massive ancient structure. The sanctuary's core stands at its center, a towering obelisk surrounded by glowing runes that pulse faintly with magic. However, the scene is marred by the presence of corruption. The obelisk is cracked and leaking dark energy, its light struggling against the encroaching shadows. The descriptions of the area create a vivid contrast between the sanctuary's inherent power and the venin's destructive influence. Andarna and Tairn react immediately, their instincts pulling them closer to the obelisk. Andarna senses the sanctuary's weakening magic and shares with Violet that the core is on the verge of collapse. The relic's glow intensifies as Violet approaches the obelisk, her connection to the sanctuary is guiding her actions. The Poromiel scouts warn of venin forces nearby, and the squad quickly fortifies their position, preparing for an inevitable confrontation. As Violet examines the obelisk, the guardian of the sanctuary appears, its form flickering as if affected by the corruption. The Guardian reveals that the Venin have already breached the Sanctuary's outer defenses and are actively siphoning its energy to fuel their dark magic. It pleads with Violet to use the relic to stabilize the core, but warns that doing so will draw the Venin directly to them. And then, says Violet, as if by instinct, the crowd and its energy flow to the core, not the other way around. Violet, fully aware of the risks, decides they have no choice but to act. The Venin forces arrive before the squad can fully execute their plan. The battle begins with a sudden and overwhelming assault, the Venin's dark magic clashing with the Sanctuary's fragile defenses. Violet and her squad fight valiantly, their dragons unleashing powerful attacks to hold the line. The descriptions of the battle are intense and chaotic, highlighting the squad's determination and teamwork as they fend off wave after wave of enemies. Amid the chaos, Violet channels the relic's energy into the obelisk, attempting to restore its balance. The process is excruciating as the relic amplifies her connection to the sanctuary and floods her with its fractured magic. Andarna and Tairn lend their strength, their bond with Violet allowing her to endure the strain. The obelisk begins to stabilize, its light growing stronger, but the Venin intensify their efforts, targeting Violet directly in an attempt to stop her. The chapter concludes with a climactic moment as Violet unleashes a surge of energy from the relic, creating a barrier of light that repels the Venin and temporarily stabilizes the obelisk. The sanctuary's defenses strengthen, but the fight is far from over. The Venin retreat for now, regrouping for another assault. Violet, though exhausted, stands resolute, knowing that the battle for the sanctuary's core is just beginning. Who else fails to recognize this is within themselves. Violet is not a blunt weapon, it comes at blood with. The chapter masterfully blends action, tension, and emotional stakes, setting the stage for an epic conclusion. Chapter 50, The Final Stand. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad regrouping after temporarily stabilizing the sanctuary's obelisk. The sanctuary's energy hums faintly, stronger than before, but still fragile. The Poramiel scouts report that the Venin forces have retreated to the edges of the clearing, regrouping for a final assault. The tension within the squad is palpable as they prepare for what they know will be the decisive battle to protect the sanctuary's core. Violet, standing near the obelisk, reflects on the strain of channeling the relic's energy. The process has taken a visible toll on her, but she remains resolute. Andarna and Tairn stand by her side, their bond stronger than ever. Andarna reassures Violet that the sanctuary's power, though weakened, is not beyond saving. This moment underscores the deep trust and unity between Violet and her dragons, adding an emotional layer to the narrative. As the group fortifies their position, the guardian of the sanctuary appears once more, its form steadier now that the obelisk is partially restored. It warns Violet that the Venin's next attack will target the obelisk directly, aiming to destabilize the sanctuary beyond repair. The Guardian reveals that the only way to fully protect the sanctuary is to seal its core with the relic, a process that will require an immense sacrifice of energy, an essential part of the sanctuary's inner workings, and relic designed to restore. Violet realizes the decision will fall on her. The Venin forces launch their assault at dusk, their numbers far greater than anticipated. The descriptions of the battle are vivid and chaotic, with the Venin's dark magic clashing violently against the sanctuary's defenses. The squad fights with everything they have, their dragons unleashing devastating attacks, while the riders work in perfect coordination. Violet's leadership shines as she directs the group, ensuring they hold their ground despite the overwhelming odds. As the battle reaches its peak, Violet steps forward, holding the relic high. Channeling her bond with Andarna and Tairn, she begins the process of sealing the core. The sanctuary responds immediately, its energy surging through the obelisk and radiating outward in waves of light. The strain on Violet is immense, but her determination to protect the sanctuary fuels her resolve. The narrative captures the intensity of the moment, blending physical and emotional stakes as Violet pushes herself to her limits. The chapter concludes with a climactic surge of energy from the obelisk, creating a barrier of light that envelops the entire sanctuary. The Venin forces are repelled, their dark magic unraveling under the sanctuary's restored power. The squad watches in awe as the sanctuary stabilizes, its glow returning to full strength. Violet collapses from exhaustion, and Andarna and Tairn at her side. The chapter ends on a note of victory tinged with uncertainty as the group realizes the challenges that still lie ahead. The chapter masterfully blends action, suspense, and emotional depth, setting the stage for the story's resolution. Chapter 52. a fragile victory. The chapter opens with Violet regaining consciousness after collapsing at the sanctuary's obelisk. The air is still, the battle's chaos replaced by an eerie quiet. The sanctuary glows brightly now, its energy fully restored and radiating outward in protective waves. Andarna and Tairn stand close to Violet, their presence grounding her as she begins to comprehend the enormity of what they've accomplished. The relic in her possession is dim, its power seemingly spent for now. The squad gathers around Violet, their relief palpable as they check on her condition. Rhiannon and Rodolphe, though battered from the fight, share a moment of levity, their humor breaking through the tension. Xaden, however, is visibly shaken, his concern for Violet's well-being overriding his usual composure. Their brief exchange reveals the depth of their connection, underscoring the emotional stakes of their mission. The guardian of the sanctuary reappears, its form now steady and luminous. It acknowledges the squad's bravery and Violet's sacrifice, explaining that the sanctuary is now secure and its connection to the network reestablished. However, the guardian warns that the victory is only temporary. The Venin remain a persistent threat, and the sanctuaries must be protected and strengthened if the balance is to be maintained. The guardian offers cryptic advice about the remaining sanctuaries, hinting at greater challenges to come. As the squad prepares to leave the sanctuary, Violet reflects on the battle and the sacrifices that have been made. She feels the toll of the relic's power and the strain it places on her bond with Andarna and Tairn. Yet, she also feels a renewed sense of purpose, knowing that their actions have made a difference. The sanctuary's restoration is a victory, but it comes with the realization that their journey is far from over. She sits down to finish her x-rays and is checked on her father-in-law. It turns out that they are stunned. The narrative shifts to the group's departure from the sanctuary, the forest now clearing as the sanctuary's magic drives away the lingering corruption. The Poromiel scouts express their admiration for the squad's courage, solidifying their alliance and vowing to support their mission. The group discusses their next steps, using the map discovered in the previous sanctuary to the tension among the group eases slightly, replaced by a cautious optimism. The chapter concludes with Violet standing at the edge of the forest, gazing back at the glowing sanctuary. She feels a quiet sense of accomplishment, but also a deep understanding of the battle still to come. The relic, though dim, seems to pulse faintly in her hand, as if echoing her thoughts. The chapter ends with the squad setting off once again, their determination renewed as they march toward the unknown. For an awful moment, no one took their eyes off the stars when the charged elephants began to march. The narrative blends reflection, resolution, and foreshadowing, setting the stage for the final chapters of the story. Chapter 53, Shadows in the Distance. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad traveling away from the restored sanctuary. The tension of the past battle lingers, but the group feels a sense of accomplishment knowing their actions have secured another piece of the sanctuary network. The forest around them has transformed, its oppressive mist replaced by a subtle hum of magic that seems to follow their path. Andarna's mood is lighter, her confidence bolstered by their victory, while Tairn remains vigilant. As the group moves deeper into the terrain leading to their next destination, Violet consults the ancient map they discovered. The map indicates that the next sanctuary lies in a desolate region marked by harsh cliffs and treacherous winds. The squad debates the best route to take, balancing speed with safety. Violet's leadership shines as she weighs their options, ultimately deciding on a direct path despite the risks, knowing time is their most critical resource. And midway through their journey, the group encounters signs of Venin activity. The remains of a small outpost, burned and corrupted, hint at the Venin's continued advance. The sight unsettles the squad and they pause to investigate. They discover evidence that the Venin are amassing forces near the next sanctuary, suggesting a larger, more coordinated attack is imminent. The urgency of their mission intensifies, and Violet resolves to push onward, despite the growing challenges. The narrative shifts to a quiet moment between Violet and Xaden during a brief rest. Xaden opens up about his fears for her, admitting that her connection to the sanctuaries and the relic places her at constant risk. Violet reassures him, expressing her belief in their purpose and her trust in the squad's strength. The moment deepens their bond, adding an emotional layer to the narrative that balances the high stakes of their mission. As the group presses forward, Andarna begins to sense a faint, unfamiliar energy on the horizon. She warns Violet that the magic feels different from the sanctuaries they've encountered so far, darker and more chaotic. The revelation unsettles the group, raising questions about whether the Venin have already begun corrupting the next sanctuary, or if they are facing a new kind of threat. The narrative builds suspense as the group approaches the source of the disturbance. Sick Howard. The chapter concludes with the squad reaching the edge of a barren plateau where the glow of the relic intensifies. In the distance, they see a towering structure bathed in shadow, its silhouette both imposing and foreboding. The chapter ends on a note of suspense and anticipation as Violet steels herself for what lies ahead, knowing that the challenges they've faced so far are only the beginning. The narrative masterfully blends discovery, tension, and character development, setting the stage for the final confrontation. Chapter 54. The Shadowed Sanctuary. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad cautiously approaching the towering structure they spotted on the horizon. The barren plateau is swept by harsh winds that carry whispers of magic, dark and chaotic, unlike anything they've encountered before. The relic pulses intensely in Violet's hand, its light dimming and flaring erratically, as if reacting to the corrupted energy emanating from the sanctuary. The tension among the group is palpable as they prepare for what feels like an inevitable confrontation. As they near the sanctuary, the group finds the surrounding area completely desolate. The ground is cracked and scorched, and the remnants of trees are twisted into unnatural shapes, evidence of the venin's corruption. Andarna's unease grows, and she warns Violet that the sanctuary's core has likely been severely compromised. The group pauses to strategize, understanding that the stakes have never been higher. Ha-pa-pa-pa-pa. Andarna points out that the venin's corruption has likely been severely compromised. Sector 12, Violet, despite her own fears, steps up to rally her team, her resolve inspiring them to press forward. Upon entering the sanctuary, the squad is struck by the scale of the corruption. The obelisk at the sanctuary's center is nearly unrecognizable, its surface blackened and fractured, with streams of dark energy flowing from it like veins. The air is heavy and oppressive, making it difficult to breathe. Andarna senses that the sanctuary is still salvageable, but warns that its magic is being siphoned at an alarming rate. Violet realizes they must act quickly to prevent the sanctuary's collapse. The group begins exploring the sanctuary, searching for a way to stabilize the obelisk. They discover a network of channels running beneath the structure, designed to distribute the sanctuary's energy throughout its network. However, the channels are clogged with dark magic, creating a feedback loop that is destabilizing the entire system. Violet decides to use the relic to clear the channels, despite the risks it poses to her health and her bond with Andarna and Tairn. As Violet works to restore the sanctuary, the venin forces arrive, drawn to the disturbance caused by the relic's energy. The squad immediately prepares for battle, forming a defensive line around Violet as she channels the relic into the sanctuary's network. The descriptions of the battle are intense and chaotic, with the venin launching wave after wave of attacks. The squad fights valiantly, their coordination and trust in each other allowing them to hold the line against overwhelming odds. The chapter concludes with Violet unleashing a surge of energy from the relic, clearing the dark magic from the channels and momentarily stabilizing the sanctuary. The obelisk glows faintly, its energy flickering, but no longer consumed by corruption. However, the effort leaves Violet weakened, and the venin forces show no signs of retreating. The squad braces for another wave of attacks, knowing they are far from safe. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, blending action, suspense, and emotional stakes as the story hurtles toward its climax. Chapter 55. The Edge of Collapse. The chapter opens with Violet struggling to regain her strength after channeling the relic's energy to clear the sanctuary's corrupted channels. The obelisk glows faintly, its energy stabilizing but still fragile. The sanctuary hums with potential, yet the air remains thick with tension as venin forces gather just beyond the perimeter. Violet knows their temporary reprieve is about to end, and the squad must act quickly to fully restore the sanctuary before it falls again. The squad regroups around Violet, their exhaustion evident but their resolve unbroken. Xedan takes charge of fortifying their defenses, directing the Pormeal scouts to set traps and establish vantage points. Rhiannon and Rhydok work tirelessly to reinforce weak spots in their formation, while Andarna and Tairn keep watch, their instincts sharpened by the looming threat. The scene highlights the squad's unity and determination, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Quote, "The guardian of the sanctuary reappears, flickering weakly but offering critical guidance. It reveals that the sanctuary's core can only be fully restored by channeling energy directly into the obelisk's heart. However, the Guardian warns that the process will require immense power, potentially draining Violet and the relic beyond their limits." The Guardian's words weigh heavily on Violet, who realizes the immense personal cost this restoration will demand. The Venin launch their attack with terrifying force, their dark magic swirling through the air like a storm. The battle that unfolds is chaotic and brutal, with the squad fighting desperately to protect the sanctuary. Violet, despite her weakened state, leads the charge, wielding the relic's power to disrupt the Venon's advances. The descriptions of the fight capture the intensity of the conflict, blending vivid imagery with the emotional stakes of the squad's struggle. Amid the battle, Andarna displays a remarkable new ability. She channels a burst of light energy that temporarily blinds the Venin, giving the squad a crucial opening. Violet seizes the moment, using the relic to connect with the obelisk and begin the final restoration process. The narrative shifts to Violet's perspective as she is flooded with the sanctuary's energy, experiencing visions of its history and the balance it once maintained. The overwhelming power tests her resolve and her bond with Andarna and tairn. The chapter concludes with the obelisk emitting a massive surge of light that engulfs the entire sanctuary. The Venin forces are thrown back, their dark magic unraveling under the sanctuary's renewed power. The squad watches in awe as the obelisk stabilizes, its glow bright and steady for the first time since their arrival. Violet collapses from the strain, her connection to the relic dim but intact. The chapter ends with the squad rallying around her, their victory tempered by the knowledge that their mission is far from over. The chapter masterfully blends action, suspense, and emotional depth, setting the stage for the story's resolution. Chapter 56, A Glimmer of Hope. The chapter begins with the sanctuary glowing brightly for the first time in what feels like centuries. The obelisk stands renewed, its energy pulsing steadily and spreading waves of light across the desolate landscape. Violet, though physically drained, feels a profound sense of accomplishment. Her bond with Andarna and tairn is stronger than ever, the shared experience of channeling the sanctuary's power, leaving a deep, unshakable connection between them. The squad gathers around Violet, helping her recover from the strain of restoring the obelisk. Rhiannon and Ridoc express their admiration for her courage while Xaden quietly tends to her, his concern etched into his every action. The Poromil scouts confirm that the Venin forces have been driven back for now, but they warn that the threat is far from eliminated. The scene captures the squad's camaraderie and resilience, even as they face the uncertainty of what lies ahead. The Guardian of the Sanctuary appears once more, this time fully formed and radiating gratitude. It explains that the restoration of this sanctuary has re-established a critical link in the network, allowing balance to flow more freely between the remaining sanctuaries. However, the Guardian also warns that the Venin are adapting, their corruption evolving to counter the sanctuary's defenses. The squad listens intently, their determination to protect the remaining sanctuaries growing stronger. As the group prepares to leave the sanctuary, Andarna senses a new pulse of energy from the relic. Violet examines it closely and discovers faint traces of guidance pointing toward the next sanctuary, this one hidden in a distant mountainous region. The revelation fills the group with renewed purpose, though the journey ahead promises to be even more perilous. The narrative emphasizes the growing stakes, as each victory brings them closer to the Venin's ultimate goal, and their own. The squad departs the sanctuary with heavy hearts and steely resolve. The once desolate forest begins to show signs of recovery, the sanctuary's renewed energy driving away the lingering corruption. Violet reflects on the sacrifices they've made and the challenges yet to come, her thoughts a mix of hope and determination. The bond between the squad feels stronger than ever, their shared experiences forging an unbreakable unity. The chapter concludes with the group setting out into the unknown, the relic's glow a steady beacon guiding their way. Violet, though exhausted, walks at the front, her role as leader solidified by the trials she has endured. The narrative ends on a note of quiet anticipation, blending reflection, unity, and the promise of new challenges as the story moves toward its final act. Chapter 57. A new threat emerges. The chapter opens with Violet and her squad trekking through a rugged expanse of rocky terrain. The air grows colder as they ascend toward the mountainous region where the next sanctuary is believed to be hidden. The relic pulses steadily, its glow guiding them like a distant beacon. Despite their recent victory, the squad feels the mounting pressure of their mission. Each step forward is shadowed by the knowledge that the Venin are growing stronger and adapting to their efforts. Andarna and tairn remain vigilant, their heightened senses alerting the group to subtle shifts in the magical energy around them. Andarna detects faint traces of Venin corruption lingering in the air, a troubling sign that the enemy may already be targeting the sanctuary. Violet reassures the group her leadership steady even as the challenges grow more daunting. The descriptions of the harsh landscape emphasize the difficulty of their journey and the rising stakes. Andarna asks whether it will be possible for her to go home. The very thought of the fun and flair of their sunny way, the sheer guilt that she's feeling. There's something harrowing about. As the group presses onward, they encounter a narrow mountain pass that seems unnaturally quiet. The stillness unsettles the squad and Violet orders them to proceed with caution. The narrative builds tension as the squad navigates the pass, their every move shadowed by an unseen presence. The oppressive silence is broken when they discover an abandoned outpost, its walls scarred with signs of battle and corruption. Inside, they find evidence that the Venin had used the location as a staging ground, heightening their urgency. While investigating the outpost, Andarna senses a powerful, unfamiliar magic emanating from deeper within the mountains. She warns Violet that this magic feels different from the sanctuaries or the Venin, as if something else entirely is stirring. The revelation unsettles the group, and the Poramil scouts suggest retreating to reassess their plan. Violet, however, decides they must press forward, believing the unknown magic could either be a new threat or a critical clue. End of section 23. March 15th, celebrated day. The group's journey through the mountains becomes increasingly perilous. The weather takes a sudden turn, with icy winds and thick snow making progress slow and dangerous. The harsh conditions test the group's endurance, but Violet's unwavering determination keeps them moving. The squad's unity shines through as they work together to overcome the obstacles, their bond growing stronger with each. The chapter concludes with the group reaching the edge of a vast frozen plateau. In the distance, they see a massive jagged structure partially buried in ice, radiating a faint but distinct glow. The relic pulses in response, its light growing brighter as they draw closer. The chapter ends on a note of suspense and anticipation, with the squad preparing to uncover the truth behind the mysterious structure and the magic it holds. The narrative expertly blends discovery, tension, and character growth, setting the stage for the story's climactic developments. Chapter 58. The Frozen Sanctuary. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad standing on the edge of the frozen plateau, staring at the massive structure half buried in ice. The relic's glow intensifies, casting long shadows across the snow and pulling them forward. The air is heavy with magic, and Andarna shivers, sensing a mixture of sanctuary energy and something darker. The squad tightens their formation, wary of what dangers might lie ahead. As they approach the structure, its intricate carvings and towering pillars become visible through the frost. The obelisk at its center is partially encased in ice, its light dim and flickering. Andarna confirms it is indeed a sanctuary, but its core appears to be dormant, as though frozen in time. The group splits into teams to explore the area, searching for clues about what caused the sanctuary to fall into such a state and how they might restore it. The exploration leads Violet and Xaden to a cavern beneath the sanctuary where they find veins of corrupted ice threading through the walls. The ice pulses faintly with dark energy, suggesting the Venin have attempted to corrupt this sanctuary but failed to breach its deeper defenses. Violet realizes that the sanctuary has effectively sealed itself off to prevent further damage, but in doing so, it has cut off its connection to the network. Restoring it will require both unlocking the core and purging the corruption. Meanwhile, Rhiannon and Radok discover traces of Venin activity in the surrounding area. They report back that the enemy forces are likely regrouping nearby, preparing to strike once the squad begins their work on the sanctuary. This revelation adds urgency to their mission, as the group knows they must act quickly to avoid being overwhelmed. The tension rises as the squad prepares for both a battle and the intricate task of reactivating the sanctuary. The narrative shifts to Violet as she examines the sanctuary's frozen obelisk. With Andarna's guidance, she identifies a series of runes carved into its surface, designed to channel and amplify the sanctuary's energy. These runes have been obscured by the ice, and Violet realizes she will need to use the relic to melt the corruption away and reactivate the core. The process will require immense focus and leave her vulnerable, but Violet is resolute in her decision. The chapter concludes with the group forming a defensive perimeter around the obelisk as Violet begins the restoration process. She holds the relic aloft, channeling its energy into the frozen sanctuary. The ice begins to crack and melt, releasing bursts of light and revealing the runes beneath. However, the air grows heavy with tension as the ground trembles, a clear sign that the chapter ends on a cliffhanger, blending suspense, action, and the promise of revelation as the squad prepares for an impending confrontation. Chapter 59. The Ice Shatters. The chapter begins with Violet fully immersed in her task of reactivating the frozen sanctuary. The relic glows brightly in her hands, its energy melting away the layers of ice that have entombed the obelisk. As the runes are revealed, the sanctuary begins to hum faintly, its magic struggling to awaken. Violet feels the strain of channeling the relic's power, her bond with Andarna and Tairn, providing her the strength to continue despite the growing pressure. Tairn proceeds at the insistence of Patterson, who has gotten it on his duty by being ordered to awaken, but his heavy sleep has burned him in present danger. Outside the obelisk's perimeter, the squad braces for battle. The ground trembles as the Venin forces approach, their dark magic rippling through the air like a storm. The Poromiel scouts report that the enemy numbers are far greater than anticipated, and the squad prepares for a fierce and desperate defense. The descriptions of the buildup create a sense of foreboding, with each moment stretching taut as the Venin draw nearer. The battle erupts with a sudden and violent clash. The Venin launch waves of attacks, their corrupted magic targeting the sanctuary and the squad's defensive line. The squad fights valiantly, their dragons unleashing coordinated strikes that disrupt the enemy's formations. Andarna uses her light energy to create barriers, buying precious time for Violet to focus on the obelisk. The descriptions of the chaotic battle highlight the squad's unity and their unbreakable resolve. Midway through the fight, Violet reaches a critical point in the restoration process. The obelisk begins to pulse rhythmically, its energy building as the runes glow brighter. However, the strain on Violet becomes overwhelming, and she feels her connection to the relic falter. Andarna and Tairn lend their strength to stabilize her, their shared bond allowing Violet to push through the pain. The narrative captures the physical and emotional toll of the moment, blending tension with the deep trust between Violet and her dragons. As the obelisk's energy reaches its peak, a dramatic surge of light erupts, casting the battlefield in a blinding glow. The sanctuary's magic expands outward, repelling the Venin and dissolving their corrupted magic. The squad seizes the opportunity to push back, their dragons launching powerful attacks that drive the remaining Venin forces into retreat. The descriptions of the sanctuary's restoration and the squad's victory are vivid and triumphant, showcasing the power of their unity and determination. The chapter concludes with the sanctuary fully restored, its light steady and its energy flowing into the network. Violet collapses from exhaustion, but the squad rallies around her, their relief palpable. The guardian of the sanctuary appears, expressing gratitude and confirming that the network's balance has been strengthened by their actions. However, the guardian warns that the Venin are growing desperate and that the next sanctuary may hold an even greater challenge. The chapter ends on a note of hard-won victory and renewed resolve, blending action, suspense, and emotional depth as the story moves toward its climax. Chapter 60. The Cost of Victory. The chapter opens in the quiet aftermath of the battle. The sanctuary stands fully restored, its obelisk glowing brightly and the surrounding landscape showing faint signs of renewal. The oppressive cold and corruption that once filled the air are replaced by a gentle hum of balance and light. Violet lies unconscious near the obelisk, her body visibly drained from the immense effort of channeling the relic's power. Andarna and Tairn stand protectively by her side, their concern for her evident. The squad gathers around Violet, their relief at the victory tempered by their worry for her condition. Zayden kneels beside her, his emotions raw as he silently wills her to recover. Rhiannon and Radok, though exhausted, tend to the group's injuries and work with the Poromiel scouts to secure the area. The scene underscores the squad's unity and mutual care, even amidst the harsh realities of their mission. As Violet begins to regain consciousness, she is overwhelmed by a flood of visions from the sanctuary's core. These glimpses reveal the network's vast potential and its intricate connection to the balance of the world. She sees sanctuaries thriving in harmony before the Venin's corruption began, as well as the desperate sacrifices made by those who protected them in the past. The visions leave her both awed and burdened, knowing the weight of the legacy she now carries. The guardian of the sanctuary reappears, more stable and luminous than before. It thanks Violet and her squad for their bravery, explaining that their actions have not only restored this sanctuary, but also sent a ripple of strength through the entire network. However, the guardian issues a grave warning. The Venin are adapting rapidly, and their next target is likely the heart of the sanctuary network itself, a central nexus that, if destroyed, would collapse the entire system. A central people and messages of care have left the heart of the sanctuary network itself. Its central message would collapse the entire system. The squad deliberates their next steps, using the information Violet gleaned from the visions and the Guardian's guidance. The ancient map they carry reveals the location of the Nexus, deep within a region thought to be unreachable due to its harsh conditions and Veneen activity. The decision to head there is unanimous, despite the overwhelming danger. Violet, though physically and emotionally taxed, reaffirms her commitment to seeing their mission through. The chapter concludes with the squad preparing to leave the sanctuary, their resolve stronger than ever. Violet reflects on the cost of their victory so far, the sacrifices, the pain, and the growing weight of leadership. She steels herself for the challenges ahead, knowing that the fight for balance is nearing its most critical point. The chapter ends with the squad setting out into the unknown once more, the relic's steady glow a beacon of hope amidst the looming darkness. The narrative blends reflection, resolve, and foreshadowing, propelling the story toward its final act. Chapter 60. Disadventures. The Nexus Beckons. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad setting out from the restored sanctuary, their sights now set on the Nexus, the heart of the sanctuary network. The ancient map they carry shows its location deep within a region marked by unforgiving terrain and near constant magical storms. The relic's glow pulses faintly, a quiet but steady reminder of their path and the challenges ahead. The narrative captures the squad's determination and the weight of their mission as they push forward. The journey quickly proves treacherous. The terrain becomes increasingly unstable, with jagged cliffs and narrow paths testing the group's endurance and focus. Andarna grows restless, sensing distortions in the magic surrounding them. She warns Violet that the energy near the Nexus feels volatile, as though it's both drawing them in and repelling them at the same time. The descriptions of the landscape and its hostile magic create an atmosphere of suspense and foreboding. As they navigate the perilous route, the squad encounters a ruined settlement at the edge of a ravine. The settlement, long abandoned, bears the scars of a violent battle. Scattered remnants of ancient guardians, both human and dragon, lie among the rubble, their forms frozen in twisted agony. The group explores cautiously, uncovering clues that suggest the Venin attacked the Nexus centuries ago. Though their efforts were thwarted, the discovery deepens their understanding of the stakes and the Nexus's importance. While investigating the ruins, Violet finds an inscription carved into a crumbled wall. With Andarna's help, she deciphers the text, which warns of a devastating consequence should the Nexus fall. The sanctuary's energy would fracture, plunging the world into chaos and allowing the Venin's corruption to spread unchecked. The inscription also hints at a hidden mechanism within the Nexus that can either protect or destroy the network, depending on who controls it. Depending on who attributes the Injune Texas was named. The revelation heightens the urgency of their mission. The group presses onward, entering a region plagued by magical storms. The storms are unlike anything they've encountered before, with lightning bolts that twist unnaturally and winds that howl with a haunting resonance. The dragons struggle to fly safely, forcing the squad to proceed on foot. The descriptions of the storms and the squad's fight to move through them are vivid and intense, emphasizing the dangers they face as they approach the Nexus. The chapter concludes with the squad emerging from the storms onto a plateau. In the distance, they see the Nexus for the first time, a colossal structure that seems to pulse with both light and shadow. The sight is awe-inspiring and terrifying, its energy so powerful that it distorts the air around it. Violet feels the relic resonate with the Nexus, its glow intensifying, as if responding to the magic ahead. The chapter ends on a note of suspense and anticipation, blending discovery, tension, and emotional stakes as the squad prepares for the ultimate challenge. Chapter 62. The Nexus Revealed. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad standing at the edge of the plateau, staring at the Nexus, a massive ancient structure that radiates overwhelming power. The Nexus pulses with an ethereal glow, its light alternating between warm gold and ominous shadow. The air is thick with magic, almost suffocating in its intensity, and Violet feels the relic in her hand reacting, its glow matching the rhythm of the Nexus's energy. The descriptions of the scene emphasize its grandeur and foreboding nature, setting the stage for the squad's most dangerous mission yet. As the group cautiously approaches the Nexus, they notice that its architecture is vastly different from the other sanctuaries they've encountered. The structure appears to be alive, shifting subtly as though responding to their presence. Andarna senses that the Nexus is not just a place, but a living entity, tied to the balance of the sanctuary network itself. Her realization sends a ripple of unease through the squad, as they begin to grasp the magnitude of their task. The Poromiel scouts, exploring the perimeter, return with troubling news. Venin forces are already stationed around the Nexus, their presence far more organized than in previous encounters. The Venin appear to be constructing devices designed to disrupt the Nexus's energy, amplifying their corruption and destabilizing the Sanctuary network. Violet understands immediately that they must act quickly to prevent catastrophic damage. Her resolve hardens and she begins to strategize with the squad. As the group plans their approach, Violet feels a sudden surge of energy from the Nexus. A faint voice echoes in her mind, a voice ancient and resonant, as though the Nexus itself is trying to communicate with her. The voice warns of the Venin's true goal, to invert the Nexus's energy, turning it into a source of corruption that will spread across the network and the world. Letter 8. Distress radiates. The revelation adds immense urgency to the mission, and Violet shares this with her team, rallying them with her unshakable determination. The squad splits into two groups, one to engage the Venin forces and disrupt their operations, and another led by Violet to reach the Nexus's core. The descriptions of their infiltration are tense and methodical, with each step forward feeling like a gamble. The Venin's defenses are formidable, and the squad faces relentless attacks as they push closer to the Nexus. Violet's leadership shines as she coordinates their efforts, using her bond with Andarna and Tairn to anticipate and counter the Venin's moves. The chapter concludes with Violet and her group reaching the Nexus's entrance, a towering archway glowing with intricate runes. The energy emanating from the structure is almost overwhelming, and Violet feels the relic vibrating in her hand, its glow matching the intensity of the Nexus. The squad braces themselves, knowing that the true battle lies ahead. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, blending discovery, suspense, and high stakes as the story propels toward its climax. Chapter 63. The Core of the Nexus. The chapter begins with Violet and her squad standing at the towering archway of the Nexus. The runes carved into the stone glow faintly, pulsing in rhythm with the relic in Violet's hand. The air hums with immense magical energy, so powerful that it feels alive. Violet takes a deep breath, steadies herself, and steps through the archway, leading her group into the heart of the Nexus. The descriptions of the scene emphasize the overwhelming scale and intensity of the magic within, setting the stage for a momentous encounter. Inside the Nexus, the group finds themselves in a vast circular chamber. At its center stands the core, a massive crystalline structure that radiates shifting waves of light and shadow. The core's energy is unstable, its glow flickering erratically as dark tendrils of corruption creep along its surface. Andarna immediately senses the core's distress and warns Violet that it is on the brink of collapse. The group realizes that the Venin's interference has pushed the Nexus to its limits. As Violet approaches the core, the ancient voice she heard earlier echoes again, stronger this time. It identifies itself as the guardian of the Nexus, a being that has existed for centuries to maintain balance across the Sanctuary network. The Guardian pleads with Violet to use the relic to stabilize the core before it fractures completely, but it also issues a dire warning. The process will require Violet to merge her own energy with the Nexus, risking permanent consequences for her bond with Andarna and Tairn. Legs pulling... The squad begins preparing to protect Violet as she works, knowing the Venin forces will not allow them to proceed unchallenged. The Pormeal scouts report that the Venin are advancing toward the Nexus, and the group braces for an imminent battle. Xaden and Rhiannon coordinate the defensive strategy, their voices steadied despite the tension in the air. The narrative highlights the squad's trust in one another, even as they face overwhelming odds. Violet steps up to the core, holding the relic aloft. Its glow intensifies, and she feels a rush of power as it connects with the Nexus's energy. The process begins, with Violet channeling her strength into the core, attempting to cleanse the corruption and restore balance. The strain is immediate and immense, and Violet struggles to maintain her focus as waves of magic surge through her body. Andarna and Tairn lend their strength, their bond with Violet keeping her grounded as the process unfolds. The chapter concludes with the Venin forces breaching the chamber, their dark magic clashing with the squad's defenses. The battle is chaotic and brutal, with the squad fighting desperately to hold the line, while Violet works to stabilize the Nexus. The core begins to glow brighter, its energy surging as Violet's connection deepens. The chapter ends on a cliffhanger, with Violet at the brink of exhaustion and the squad overwhelmed by the Venin's relentless assault. Is this what they cry? Certainly they weren't, the chiefs do. The narrative masterfully blends action, suspense, and emotional stakes as the story hurtles toward its climax. Chapter 64, The Nexus Awakens. The chapter begins with Violet pushing herself to the limit as she channels the relic's energy into the core of the Nexus. The crystalline structure begins to stabilize, its flickering light growing steadier with each pulse of power. However, the strain on Violet is immense, and she feels her connection to Andarna and Tairn wavering under the pressure. The Guardian's voice echoes in her mind, urging her to stay strong and complete the process before the Venin can fully disrupt their efforts. The battle outside the core intensifies. Xaden and Rhiannon lead the squad in a desperate defense against the Venin forces, who are now pouring into the chamber in overwhelming numbers. The descriptions of the fight are vivid and chaotic, with the squad using every ounce of their strength and strategy to hold the line. Andarna's light energy creates barriers to shield Violet, while Tairn unleashes devastating firestorms to push back the enemy. Despite their efforts, the Venin continue to press forward, their dark magic threatening to overwhelm the group. Midway through the battle, the Venin deploy a monstrous construct of corrupted magic, a towering, shadowy figure designed to destroy the Nexus core. The squad's focus shifts to neutralizing the construct, a task that pushes them to their breaking point. Rhiannon and Redoc coordinate attacks from the dragons, while Xaden engages the construct directly, his sword glowing with magic as he clashes with the massive enemy. The fight against the construct becomes the centerpiece of the chapter, highlighting the squad's unity and determination. As the Venin construct nears the core, Violet reaches the critical stage of the restoration process. The relic glows brighter than ever, and the core begins to resonate with her energy. She feels the weight of centuries of balance and magic coursing through her, threatening to tear her apart. Andarna and Tairn's bond with Violet anchors her, their voices echoing in her mind, reminding her of their shared purpose. The Guardian's voice guides her as she channels the final surge of energy into the core. The core releases a massive pulse of light that floods the chamber, obliterating the Venin forces and the corrupted construct in an instant. The squad is thrown to the ground by the force of the energy, and the entire sanctuary trembles as the Nexus awakens fully. The light from the core stabilizes into a steady golden glow, radiating balance and strength across the sanctuary network. Violet collapses, her body and mind completely drained, but the Nexus stands, restored. The chapter concludes with the squad gathering around Violet as she lies unconscious near the core. The Guardian reappears, its form now radiant and complete, and expresses its gratitude to Violet and the squad for their bravery and sacrifice. It warns that while the sanctuaries are now stronger, the Venin are not defeated. They will adapt and strike again. The chapter ends on a note of triumph mixed with foreboding, blending resolution and suspense as the story approaches its final moments. So Emily, I feel like her perspective is so full of care, and chapter 60, The Aftermath of Balance. The chapter begins with Violet slowly regaining consciousness near the restored core of the Nexus. The golden light from the crystalline structure fills the chamber with warmth, and the oppressive weight of corruption is gone. Violet feels the exhaustion deep in her bones, but also senses a profound calm, a connection to the sanctuaries that is stronger than ever. Andarna and Tairn stand beside her, their presence comforting as they ensure she is stable. The bond between them feels irrevocably changed, deeper and more intertwined. The squad gathers around Violet, their relief palpable. Rhiannon and Redoc express their awe at what Violet has accomplished, while Xaden kneels beside her, his concern visible in his every movement. The Poramil scouts report that the remaining Venin forces have retreated, and for the first time in what feels like ages, the group experiences a moment of peace. The sanctuary hums with life, its energy rippling outward as it reconnects fully to the network. Better than sync differently to them. The Guardian of the Nexus reappears, now radiant and whole. It thanks Violet and her squad for their extraordinary courage and sacrifice, acknowledging that their efforts have restored the sanctuary's balance. For now. However, the Guardian cautions that the Venin are evolving and will likely attempt to strike again, targeting weaknesses within the network. The Guardian reveals that Violet's connection to the Nexus has strengthened the relic, allowing it to serve as a beacon for future threats and a tool to unify the sanctuaries. As the group prepares to leave the Nexus, Violet reflects on the immense cost of their victories. The journey has tested them in ways they never imagined, and she feels the weight of those sacrifices deeply. Yet she also feels a renewed sense of hope, knowing that they have accomplished something truly monumental. The relic's glow is steady now, a symbol of the balance they have worked so hard to protect. The narrative shifts to a quiet moment between Violet and Xaden as the group sets up camp near the Nexus. Xaden opens up about his fears for her, expressing admiration for her strength, but also his desire to protect her from further harm. Their conversation is intimate and heartfelt, underscoring the depth of their bond and their mutual commitment to the mission. Violet reassures him, reaffirming her belief in their shared purpose and the strength they draw from one another. Later on, Violet beats Umpit's throat. The chapter concludes with the squad gazing out at the horizon, their path forward uncertain, but their determination unwavering. The Nexus stands tall behind them, a beacon of balance and resilience. The Guardian's parting words echo in Violet's mind. The fight is not over, but neither is hope. The chapter blends resolution, reflection, and foreshadowing, setting the stage for the story's final moments and the challenges that lie ahead. Section 1. Rosewall Squadron. Chosen One, trained to be warriors. Chapter 66. The Path Forward. The chapter opens with the squad departing the Nexus, its golden glow still visible on the horizon behind them. The group's pace is steady but cautious, as the toll of their mission weighs heavily on both their bodies and minds. The air around them feels lighter, as if the restoration of the Nexus has brought balance back to the land. The relic in Violet's possession hums faintly, its steady rhythm a comforting reminder of what they've achieved and the sanctuaries they've saved. Myrtle Mortos tried to make contact with his memory, and is most likely due to the restraints and sanctuaries they've saved. As they travel, Violet reflects on her connection to the sanctuaries. The Nexus has left its mark on her, not just physically, as her body still bears the signs of exhaustion, but spiritually, as she feels more deeply attuned to the flow of magic within the sanctuary network. Andarna and Tairn sense this change as well, their bond with Violet stronger and more profound than ever. The quiet moments between them highlight the depth of their partnership and the strength they draw from one another. The group encounters a small village on the outskirts of the Nexus's influence, where the villagers greet them with cautious gratitude. The villagers had felt the effects of the Nexus's corruption, but now see signs of renewal in their land, plants regrowing, the air clearing, and a newfound sense of hope. The squad takes a brief respite, sharing stories with the villagers and learning of the Venon's lingering presence in other regions. Intermingle. This interaction adds a human element to their mission, reminding them of the lives they are fighting to protect. During the respite, the Poromial scouts present Violet with updated intelligence about the Venon's movements. While the Nexus has been secured, the scouts warn that the Venon are regrouping and shifting their focus to other weak points in the sanctuary network. The group deliberates on their next steps, knowing that their mission is far from over. Violet decides they must continue tracking the Venon's activity while rallying allies to their cause, understanding that unity will be critical in the battles ahead. The narrative shifts to a private conversation between Violet and Xaden. Xaden, ever protective, urges Violet to consider resting before plunging into the next phase of their mission. Violet, though appreciative of his concern, explains that the weight of the sanctuary's survival leaves her no choice but to press on. Their exchange is heartfelt and intimate, showcasing the balance of strength and vulnerability in their relationship. Xaden discusses that he truly meant her would, pressure like blast smitten on iron. When she instructs him in the earlier exchange, Xaden promises to stand by her, no matter the cost. The chapter concludes with the squad setting off toward the next region marked on their map, their resolve renewed despite the challenges that await. The relic's glow brightens as they march into the unknown, a beacon guiding them toward their next battle. Violet reflects on the sacrifices they've made and the hope they've reignited, vowing to honor the legacy of the sanctuaries and the bonds that have carried them this far. The chapter ends on a note of quiet determination, blending reflection, resilience, and anticipation as the story moves toward its conclusion.